One sec. Yeah, I think we are finally live यार.
Right.
Ciao ciao दोस्तों, कैसे हो? I think after yesterday's dramatic games, ये कैल्चियो मर्कातो के बारे में, इटालियन ट्रांसफर विंडो के बारे में बात करना एकदम अप्रोप्रिएट है कौस्तुभ और योगेश, क्योंकि yesterday's games were wild. एक तो योगेश के मुंह पे खुशी ऑब्वियसली, जो वाइल्ड गेम था, ऊपर से नापोली के साथ सब ट्रांसफर ड्रामा चल रहा है, रोमा के साथ भी चल रहा है, इटालियन फुटबॉल में आई थिंक जनरली ऑब्वियसली ट्रांसफर ड्रामा चल रहा है. But yeah, before we get to all of that, I hope everyone is doing well in the chat, and of course, I have with me Kostub. How are you doing, Kostub, bro? आज रोमा किट के साथ.
Last time भी रोमा किट पहनी थी. And by the way, I bought that new Juventus का third kit, which
अरे
is
बाप रे, क्या
actually
कर
really
दिया
good.
है.
वो actually
Yeah, it is good, obviously.
में you can't see the texture of the jersey in the picture. वो actually it's not pure polyester. It's a very webby and थोड़ा सा transparent सा cloth, which is something I really liked. So I think next game पे वो पहन.
Fair enough. हाँ, it is a good looking jersey, but choice गलत थी. I think मैं और योगेश एग्री करेंगे. But योगेश कैसा है? योगेश कैसा कर रहा है यार? Because I know तेरा मूड तो अच्छा होगा कल के ड्रामा के. I think Napoli needed that win, considering how the market was going. But before we get into all of that, how are you doing यार?
बढ़िया यार, मैं तो बढ़िया हूँ. कल का मैच देख के और मजा आ गया.
Of course. कल का मैच देख के मजा आ गया. जैसे चिंतन भाई बोल रहा है, I think he might join us. Yogesh can't stop smiling. पहले let's see who's in the house here. Rajat bhai is here, Inter fan. Good afternoon, Rajat, to you as well. Bikku has joined in as usual. Nice to have you. I hope again you are happy with Chiesa. आप Liverpool fan हो रहा है कि यार anyone very briefly, I know you guys were linked with Lille का right back, right? उसको ही साइन कर लेते यार तुम लोग, या टियागो सैंटोस, उसको ही साइन कर लेते तुम लोग, बिकॉज एमरसन रॉयल, मतलब स्पर्स फैंस मजाक, उनके लिए तो ये एंटरटेनमेंट है भाई. योगेश साइड एंटरटेनमेंट, बिकॉज एमरसन रॉयल इज सो
about I think when Conte was Tottenham manager, I went to this Spurs Delhi screening with a Spurs fan friend. So that was a North London derby in which Emerson was sent off. So वो game में I remember about 100 Spurs fans cheering when Emerson got sent off.
यार
that is the level.
Exactly. आज हम लोग गेम के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे, उसका राउंड अप तो हम लोग मिड वीक कर लेंगे. बट यार ये साइनिंग, इट इज गोइंग ओवर माय हेड, बिकॉज ठीक है चलो, लेट्स सी इफ ही इंप्रूव्स एज द सीजन गोज ऑन, बट द चांसेस ऑफ दैट आर वेरी लो. ऊपर से कल जो 2 गोल कंसीडर किया ना मिलान के अगेंस्ट, मिलान ने लाजियो के अगेंस्ट, योगेश, दोनों उसके ही साइड से आया व्हेन ही स्लेप्ट ऑफ एंड व्हेन नुनो टावारेस क्रॉस्ड इन द बॉल. तो मतलब दिस गाय ये डिफेंड कर नहीं सकता, उसमें आईक्यू कुछ नहीं है डिफेंड करने लायक. फर्स्ट गेम में पार्मा के अगेंस्ट सीधा पार्मा को प्लेयर को बॉल पास कर दिया. मतलब दिस गाय इज, यार आई थिंक इसका सही आंसर इज एनीवन बट एमरसन रॉयल. एंड टियागो सैंटोस के लिए पैसा हो जाता तो देन इट वुड हैव बीन फेयर. बट यार सीरियसली it's a very sad thing to see Milan splashing.
I think we will probably speak about Salamakers.
Yeah.
I think Salamakers को maybe अगर if they had kept Salamakers, तो maybe they could have had a decentish sort of option for right back, because left back खेला था first game में.
इससे अच्छा तो वही Salamakers को ही रख लेते तुम राइट पे, कैसे तो अकोमोडेट करके खिला लेते. लाइक वो ये एमरसन रॉयल के बारे में थोड़ा और बाद में बात करेंगे, कर लेंगे. निशान, नाइस टू हैव यू. रजत, रोहेल ऑन मेथ लास्ट नाइट. आई थिंक सब लोग वही एग्री कर रहे हैं. न्यूट्रल्स भी लुक हु इज स्माइलिंग, ऑफ कोर्स योगेश पूरा खुश है. नाइस टू हैव यू. अरुण, निशान says please share your opinion on new Excel format. Just give us a few. निशान करते हैं definitely. Let me start this. I've started, so we'll come to it. Yogesh finally smiling this season, of course. सब लोग उसी पे ध्यान दे रहे हैं. Bikku, nice to have you. Arun says, Chintan, what about your smile? Chintan bhai is not smiling, I can tell you from our group chat. 15 points. वो सब तो we'll see, Chintan bhai. But yes, we had a very strong showing against Atalanta, obviously 4-0 win. Milan making a comeback now, unbeaten season from now. Milan wins title. इसकी jinxing चालू हो गई है. Chintan bhai is older than Ajay bhai. Yeah, that is true. Sobik SB, yes, that's him. Milan to go unbeaten from next game. इसकी trolling चल रही है. We are in pain already. Juventus is really crazy this season. Sure, of course, बहुत अच्छा strong start किया. Definitely on a great start. Very different from Allegri. And you can see the breath of fresh air in the Juventus camp. Kalulu, इसको ही रख लेते, वो भी बराबर है, इसको ही रख लेते तुम. आई नो इज इंजरी प्रोन बट एटलीस्ट ही इज गुड, एटलीस्ट ही इज नॉट दिस बैड. यूए को दे दिया, दैट्स अनदर बैफलिंग थिंग टू सी. बट लेट्स गेट टू इट यार गाइस. पहले योगेश तूने वो बैनर्स बनाया, पुल अप कर ले यार, जो तू हाँ ठीक है चल, मैंने एक पुल अप कर लिया जस्ट टू शो दैट पीपल नो व्हाट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. पहला स्टार्ट करते हैं, ओसीमैन से स्टार्ट करना है, किसी और चीज से स्टार्ट करना है? बिकॉज आई नो ओसीमैन के बारे में बात बहुत करने
I
वाले हैं,
guess.
किधर स्टार्ट करें? लेट्स ठीक है, एक छोटी स्टोरी से स्टार्ट करता हूँ मैं, ठीक है? तो छोटी नहीं योगेश पर से, बट एक्चुअली इवान पेरिसिच वाज क्लोज टू साइनिंग फॉर कोमो. योगेश ऑफ कोर्स. तो बेसिकली हुआ क्या उधर, ही वाज जनरली, आई थिंक उसका कुछ छोटी फी के साथ नेगोशिएशन था कोमो का डेडलाइन डे पे, पर एज कोस्टो वुड नो टाइम पास हो गया, इट वेंट ओवरबोर्ड एंड ऑब्वियसली टाइम नहीं बचा उसको खरीदने के लिए फॉर कोमो. एंड ऐसा लगा कि रोमानो और से सबने बोला कि डील कोलैप्स हो गई है, बट because Perisic had a falling out with Gattuso at Hajduk Split in Croatia, they've terminated his contract, so now they can sign him on a free, but it is still not a done deal because Yo Kostov, if I'm not wrong, Monza is still chasing him, trying to convince him, right? क्या एकदम ब्रीफली उधर क्या सिचुएशन लेटेस्ट इज, वेयर डू यू सी हिम एंड अप? पेरिसिच, कोमो और मोन्जा, क्या लग रहा है? दोनों राइवल्स भी है.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know because there is an obvious, although Perisic played for Milan, but for Inter, Monza में वो Milan वाला link है, and it's like Monza is pretty close to Milan in a geographical sense as well. So that can be a positive, but I think Como का जो currently squad है, the sort of profile in the squad, because a lot of times what matters to the players that are coming in is the sort of players that are already in the team. So I think वो एक different sort of appeal होता है, and I think Como need to strengthen on the left wing as well. Although right पे भी खेल लेता है, but I think left पे उनको strengthen करने की जरूरत है. Although I don't think Perisic will be a standout signing by any means in 2024, but
yeah,
again,
he's injury के बाद he's not. Yeah, exactly.
This is Como who signed Alberto Moreno, and he's starting every game. So I don't know. I personally think he will probably head to Como, and I would ideally want him to move to Como as well, because squad to an extent will strengthen, because he knows how to an extent he would know how that Fabregas system works, because he's played in Germany, and Germany में जो systems होते हैं, they are very reliant on pressing high up the pitch in central areas. So I think tactically he would get the system more. So I would say he would probably go to Como instead of Monza.
Fair play. हाँ वो तो है, and I guess उसको geographical reasons भी होगी obviously, because he has such closer ties to Milan, the city of Milan of course, and उसके लिए Como पास में भी पड़ जाएगा. I feel Como makes more sense generally given that Monza का squad इतना खास दिख नहीं रहा. But Yogesh, I'll come to you. Perisic का तो वो सिचुएशन है, पर ये यार ये I'll pull it up. Varane's contract, as Sobik has sent in the chat, is seemingly going to be terminated because वो फर्स्ट कोपा इटालिया गेम खेला अगेंस्ट सैम्पडोरिया, वो इंजर हुआ, एंड तब से न्यूज थी कि ही इज आउट फॉर 1 month. ठीक है योगेश? और अभी न्यूज में आ रहा है, नॉट ये निकोलो शीरा ने डाला है, नॉट जस्ट हिम बट मेनी सोर्सेज आर सेइंग कि एक तो उसको सेरिया स्क्वाड लिस्ट से बाहर डाल दिया है. आई थिंक दे कैन स्टिल इंक्लूड हिम लेटर ऑब्वियसली, बट अभी के लिए बाहर है. बट ऑब्वियसली न्यूज आ रही है योगेश कि उसका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही टर्मिनेट कर देंगे. डू यू थिंक योगेश, अगर उसकी इंजरी इश्यूज इतनी वेल डॉक्यूमेंटेड है इवन फॉर अस फैंस, इसको स्टार्टिंग से लेना ही नहीं चाहता? बिकॉज आई नो ठीक है चलो, ही स्टिल अ गुड प्लेयर, आई नो कोस्टो इज स्टिल गुड इनफ फॉर कोमो यू कैन से, बट इंजरीज कुछ ज्यादा ही है वरान की. तो तुझे लगता है स्टार्टिंग से अगर एक अच्छा क्लियर प्लान होता, किसी और को साइन कर दे तो बेटर होता, इंस्टेड ऑफ दिस, instead of going after the big name regardless of his injury issues?
Yeah, definitely यार, like Como ने gamble किया था, and I think they have lost on that. They could not get the benefit of that. Like Rafael Varane को sign करने का one reason was that the name and the prestige that brings in. तो एक वो reason तो definitely था ही, but unfortunately because of his injuries which has been perennial in his career, तो वो वापस से उन्हें अफेक्ट कर रहा है. तो डेफिनेटली इट्स अ लॉस मेकिंग डील फॉर कोमो, एंड इन द हाइंडसाइट दे कुड हैव गॉन फॉर सम अदर प्लेयर्स who could have brought much more solidity.
मैं तो बोलता हूँ अगर उनके पास इतना लाइक वी नो दैट दे आर रिच बट वो लोग ज्यादा पैसा स्पेंड नहीं करेंगे बिकॉज ये क्लब 3 बार हिस्ट्री में बैंकरप्ट हो चुकी है अपने बराबर बट एटलीस्ट वो लोग कोस्टो विल अग्री कि डिसेंट इनफ पैसा स्पेंड कर दे कुड हैव ट्राइड साइनिंग समवन फ्रॉम सेरिया बी राइवल्स लाइक वेनेजिया जे इटसेल्फ करके है वेनेजिया में उसको तुम लोग साइन कर लेते इतना टैलेंटेड प्लेयर है you know this is important and this is where I don't know ये वरान signing I hope they get like बाहर से you hope कि he gets a second chance but they have question marks because can he remain fit for the entire season you know because if he can't वो लोग फालतू का पैसा उड़ा रहे हैं and now you know again free agents की बात करो वो लोग फिर स्टार्टिंग से एर्मोसो को टारगेट करते हैं again I'm not the biggest Mario Hermoso fan but for Como's level given where his career is headed he could have been decent enough right so again a bad situation Como has a lot to work on but let's move on from this मैं थोड़े again I'll just go through the comments and see Swarnim Bhai is here nice to have you Swarnim Bhai Napoli did some crucial signings at the end good job Yogesh Bhai Yogesh गायब he worked overtime Swarnim Bhai उसकी आंख ना एकदम डार्क हो गई थी and he got the Billy Gilmore deal over the line मतलब इसने रिवाइव की एक पॉइंट पे ऐसा लग रहा था ना कोस्टो होगा नहीं ये डील एंड एकदम से करवा लिया बिली गिलमोर की साइनिंग thoughts on Parma they should get promoted right Parma already Serie A में है ना what do you mean to say कि they're expected to do better than you know what generally would be expected because मेरे हिसाब से वो लोग top 10 में होने वाले because I feel they're very good और उनके मार्केट के भी बारे में बात करेंगे because somebody had asked us to speak on it and they have done some good business लोग बोल रहे हैं कोस्टो Atalanta did fantastic business on the market Roma did which is fair but I think एक क्लब जिसके बारे में बात नहीं हो रही है fantastic business के हिसाब से is Parma which I will come to Suzuki won the game for Napoli यार मतलब इसको यार मैं लाइव जाने से पहले हम लोग योगेश यही बात कर रहे थे ना एज ए नापोली फैन आल्सो योगेश तू अग्री करेगा यही टर्निंग अराउंड पॉइंट था तुझे ऐसा लग रहा था गेम गया हाथ से
डेफिनेटली लाइक लुकाकू को सब इन किया था तब भी लाइक इतना मैच सिचुएशन चेंज नहीं हुआ था बट जैसे ही ये रेड कार्ड हुआ द गेम कंप्लीटली टर्न्ड एंड स्पेशली उनके पास में कोई सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं बचा था दे डिड नॉट हैव इवन स्लॉट्स एंड 5 सब्स्टिट्यूशंस उन्होंने कर लिया था तो दैट वाज द टर्निंग पॉइंट
yeah so big before we come to Sofian Amrabat ना मैं पहले ओसीमेन पे ही आता हूँ since Shashruta has brought it up और ये आज का मेन टॉकिंग पॉइंट है यार because ओसीमेन के बारे में ही सब बातें चल रही है you know ओसीमेन किधर जाने वाला था उसका एग्जैक्टली क्या हुआ not everyone is privy so let's break it down यार एक तो कौस्तुभ let's start with कौस्तुभ then go to योगेश कौस्तुभ but I want you to start with that point एक्चुअली मैं योगेश से स्टार्ट करता हूँ बिकॉज लाइव जाने से पहले ही ब्रॉट दिस अप कौस्तुभ देन आई विल कम टू यू अबाउट द डिटेल्स योगेश तू अगर ऑडियंस को बता सकता है जनवरी में उसने सीबीएस स्पोर्ट्स गोलाजो को इंटरव्यू दिया था देन ही सेड आई ऑलरेडी नो व्हाट आई वांट टू डू एकदम क्लियर और एकदम एरोगेंट टोन में दिया था उसने ही वाज फ्रस्ट्रेटेड चलो ही वाज फ्रस्ट्रेटेड आफ्टर द मिस्टेक्स नापोली हैव मेड व्हिच इज फेयर बट ही वाज कमिंग अक्रॉस एज अ बिट एरोगेंट कैन यू टेल अस अ बिट अबाउट उसने इंटरव्यू में क्या बोला था जस्ट टू बिल्ड अप द कॉन्टेक्स्ट फॉर एवरीथिंग
या डेफिनेटली लाइक जनवरी में जो उसने इंटरव्यू दिया था लाइक दिसंबर में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रिन्यू किया हुआ था एंड इन दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एडीएल एडेड 130 million euros का क्लॉज एंड Osimhen was made the highest paid player in the entire division so it was not like the Osimhen was getting the cheap end of the stick he got a very good deal and the thinking was always that he comes in summer there'll be clubs lining up for him and he'll go off and that 10 million 11 million euro salary won't be on Napoli's books for a long time and January में उसने interview दिया था before going to this Africa Cup of Nations के लिए that he has made his decision he already knows where he wants to go and everything is final that was the tone and that was the message that he sent out and उसके पहले like he had also done that like Scudetto जीताया नापोली को but he went out and because of some TikTok stupidity by the club I admit that it was stupid move by club he went out and deleted all the Napoli photos that he had on his Instagram account as well and तो वो एक रिलेशनशिप ब्रेक होना काफी टाइम से स्टार्ट हो गया था एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ये सब कुछ इज विक्टर ओसिमेन्स फॉल्ट द क्लब इज आल्सो बट this situation was very poorly handled like एक maturity like it was being handled not by like men who are matured it was very childish behavior from both sides that's what I want to say
नापोली के जब when it comes to नापोली ना ये chaotic things कॉस्टम होते रहती है फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल योशिकागे नाइस टू हैव यू बट एक चीज अरुण ने इस पे बोली है व्हिच इज राइट कि द एंटायर ओसिमेन सागा स्टार्टेड विद नापोली एडमिन पोस्टिंग दैट कोकोनट स्टफ वो कोकोनट वाला तो पहले था वो उसका द लेटेस्ट पोस्ट दैट triggered him was that penalty wala, where वो लोग they were making fun of where they were making fun of Osimhen for diving for penalties, which is wrong. You don't do that to your star striker. वो लोग ने social media admin को निकाल दिया job से, which obviously was. I don't sit here and hope that anybody loses their job, but after what he did, obviously it was stupid of him, or it was coming to him, obviously. ये पर अरुण एक चीज मैं इसके काउंटर पे बोलता हूँ, वो तो गलत था, और उसके पहले तो कोविड एरा में जा व्हाट ओसिमन डिड, दिस इज अगेन जिसमें योगेश ने राइटली बोला, बोथ पार्टीज आर एट फॉल. अगेन कोविड एरा में जब अपने क्या बोलते थे वो लॉकडाउन्स होते थे, जब रिस्ट्रिक्शंस होते थे अबाउट मूविंग अराउंड इन different places, limited access, or this guy flew to Nigeria by lying to Napoli and was partying in Nigeria, risking the lives of people over there he was partying with, and then coming back to Naples and risking the lives of his teammates. Obviously this is when the vaccine was just, vaccinations were still being developed and all this at the time. So he's also done some really horrible things if you think about it from that perspective. मतलब नापोली को झूठ बोल के कि तुम घर जा रहे हो अपने रिलेटिव्स को whatever ध्यान देने, but going there and partying, your video gets leaked of him throwing money around in the party as if it's some kind of a joke during the pandemic. So he's no saint, by the way. He is absolutely no saint. But this is one of the reasons why clubs don't want him, because his temperament off the pitch is very bad. He is Yogesh will agree, even if he loves Osimhen, he is sort of a man child. ये सच है. He's not a saint. बहुत tantrums throw करता है वो. We'll come to this other saga. कौस्तुभ को ये मैं पूछूंगा, but उसका जो Kvaratskhelia के एजेंट के साथ झगड़ा हुआ, there was no need to blow it up like that. So we'll come to all that. But there are both sides, as as Yogesh said. But Kostub, speaking to Osimhen, Yogesh gave us the initial picture. Now let's come to the thick of it. मतलब, यार, we all thought कि ठीक है 130 million. The market maybe is not right because mostly सब clubs के पास striker है, जिसको चाहिए था उनको 130 spend नहीं करना है. And Napoli was very clear कि हमने तुझे सिर्फ wage का increase दिया है up to 10 million. We've made you the highest paid player in Serie A only up until the summer so that you can find a move and then move on. But we come to a situation in the last days of the transfer window wherein Al Ahly wants Victor Osimhen, obviously, but Victor Osimhen wants Al Ahly. ठीक है, ये तो अपने को पता था. You give us the details of the contract offered and everything, and then Chelsea was also trying, but the contract offer was ridiculously low. Obviously उनके financial अभी ये जो कर रहे हैं वो लोग उसके वजह से obviously restrictions थे, but it was low. But again we know that Osimhen has publicly said he's a Chelsea fan and everything, but not said but showed rather, and he was angry with Napoli कि तुमने Al Ahly का ऑफर एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया, तुम लोग ने चेल्सी के साथ नेगोशिएट कर लिया, पर मैं चेल्सी से खुश नहीं. So can you just give us the lowdown of that whole mess, basically what happened deadline day पे?
So the fact that Osimhen wanted to join Al Ahly was very recent. Like this was like, although Romano was constantly saying he's open to joining Al Ahly, but a lot of these Italian outlets were constantly insisting that he has never given his approval to joining. So, and someone that I spoke to who is close to Osimhen also told me that he's never going there, very clearly, very outright. No, he said it almost as if there is no chance at all. So on deadline day or a day before deadline day, Di Marzio reported that he's opened up to the possibility of joining Al Ahly. So Al Ahly ke executives and officials came to Naples, they held talks. So what Il Mattino actually reported, Il Mattino being the local Naples outlet, what they reported is that a fee was initially agreed, but at the very end, De Laurentiis said, "Meko 5 million extra do." That is when Al Ahly said, "Go F yourself. We are not doing that." So, and on the side, they were completing that Ivan Toney deal as well. So वो हो गया था, and they were making sure कि Tony had his medical in London. He didn't have to travel to Saudi Arabia to undergo that medical. So that deal was done. And at that point, Al Ahly said, "We're out." And at that point, Chelsea's officials were in Naples, hoping that if the Al Ahly move collapses or it doesn't materialize, they'll try to capitalize. And then they went back in, Napoli se baat kariye. Fee was fine. The fee wasn't a problem, but then they offered about 155k, which is too low for a player of Osimhen's quality, jitna bhi uske issues ho. But 155K is not something you pay to a player like Osimhen, and he obviously rejected. And
Obviously.
in fact, 2 days before the deadline day came in, we knew that Gazzetta dello Sport actually reported that Chelsea's offer was anyway going to be low. So they had limited chance of signing him. So they came back in with the same offer, which is incredibly weird because 2 दिन पहले अभी same offer को मना कर रहा है. So why are you coming up with the same offer all over again?
Exactly.
On deadline day, that is.
So बराबर.
The weird part is कि the context, जैसे योगेश ने बोला कि he had given this clear indication that he has already decided कि उसे कहाँ जाना है, and it took deadline day and beyond for things to actually not work out. But I think what he meant initially was PSG, because हमने बात करी है कि Roberto Calenda, his agent, was actually उसने जो एक statement निकाला था when Athletic in England reported that वो swap deal हो सकता है Lukaku and Osimhen, it's a possibility, talks have been held, etc. etc. Calenda posted on Twitter saying that he's not an object or something like that.
Object की तुम उसे pass around करो as an object, ऐसा बोला
था. Who can be passed around or something. Which made us think that this guy wants PSG because the Osimhen to Chelsea move was going to be a loan deal. And he didn't want a loan deal because उसमें commission नहीं है. And
exactly.
Luis Campos knows Osimhen from their time together at Lille. So it only makes sense for him to go back to someone he knew to sign a new striker. And PSG, I thought for a long while in June or July, I thought they will get Osimhen because the talks were actually held way back in June, and it seemed as if कि fee का कुछ agreement हो जाएगा. But that didn't happen, and I think PSG also had financial issues or something. So I think उससे PSG after a point they simply went out there and told Osimhen and Napoli that we can't afford you, and it fell apart. And फिर जाके the other names came up, and I think there is also this context that I think हमने वो अभी discuss करा कि a lot of teams have strikers in place. And Arsenal का name बार-बार link हो रहा था, but the Italian reports were mentioning that they would rather go for Victor Gyökeres than Victor Osimhen.
The battle of Victor for Arsenal. But Yogesh, before Costa we continue, Ajay, nice that you joined here. We need to get your opinion also here, because we discussed Osimhen का start. I think Ajay is. We couldn't hear you, Ajay. आप mute पे हो गए?
Is my voice clear? Just trying a new setup.
Be better है. थोड़ा पता नहीं बीच में ही कट गया था, but now you're better. But yeah, Ajay, we discussed थोड़ा starting the evolution of this whole Osimhen saga. हमने January में जो उसने वो weird interview दिया था CBS Sports को, वो थोड़ा बात किया कैसे deadline day पे हुआ. What is, by the way, before I ask Ajay, we'll come to all the comments again. Appreciate everyone joining in. But Ajay, what are your thoughts? Yeah, again, sure, he could still move to Saudi Arabia in 1 or 2 days, but ऐसा लग नहीं रहा है given the teams that are that have an opening for strikers or whatever. But what do you think of this mess? He's been frozen out of the team. उस पे detail में आते, but just generally your thoughts, sir, because it has become quite ugly, obviously, from being the star man who won the Scudetto for this team in 33 years to now being a reserve player, not even allowed to enter the training ground.
It's sad, यार. It is very sad because I think पूरी league के लिए खराब है ये, क्योंकि Osimhen represents like one of the best players in Serie. So whatever it was, I think for the overall benefit of the player, the league, and all parties, it should have been resolved much earlier. Yeah, Yogesh, come on, you need to do a good job in convincing the players. And यार उसको अगर जाना था तो छोड़ देना चाहिए था. They should have found an agreement. And it should have happened. It's a shame that it has come down to this. And most likely, जैसा तुमने बोला, he'll end up staying and wasting 6 months of his career in a place where he's not wanted. He doesn't want to stay. Such a tragic thing to happen.
Absolutely.
I also think this move was probably doomed in a way. Although Serie jeeta, but this जिस तरीके से वो डील हुई थी, where Napoli paid cash and 4 players no one had ever heard of, saying that these are worth 20 million or whatever 15 million, and उसपे the case is still being investigated. I think the result will probably come some point this season. So I think वो भी एक context है कि this is not a normal situation to be in, and ये जो transfer था, it also happened in weird circumstances, and the person to sell him was Luis Campos, I think, back in 2019 or whatever, who wanted him at PSG. So I think वो एक थोड़ा dark shadow इस move पे हमेशा था.
Yeah, definitely. Like जब Osimhen आया था,
बोल.
जब Osimhen आया था, it was the COVID period and it was the highest transfer in that transfer market. Like, and officially the figure was 77.5 million, 78 million euros was the official figure. Like, so it was not that the Osimhen was brought in cheap and like club भी थोड़ा मैं इधर ADL के साथ में हूँ because the club is also trying to protect their investment and it was a huge investment that they made in him. And Osimhen के आप देखोगे तो काफी injuries भी रही है. Like his first season was the mask thing that came up. It came up after he was out for injuries, and even after that he is very injury prone. So club has taken a decent amount of losses because of that.
हाँ एग्जैक्टली. बट बिफोर वी थोड़ा और बात करें ओसिमन के बारे में, ये थोड़ा एक ब्रेकडाउन देना चाहता हूँ बिकॉज फुटबॉल इटाली ने थोड़ा क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर अच्छा दिया. अगर आपको जानना है तो अगेन फॉर द ऑडियंस, अगेन वील कम टू योर कमेंट्स. या स्ट्रीम को लाइक करो, सब्सक्राइब करो. यू नो वी आर एट 938,000 इज द गोल नाउ. 1K सब्सक्राइबर्स वेरी क्लोज. बट देखो उन्होंने एक पिक्चर दी कि टू गेट द फुल पिक्चर आपको जाना पड़ेगा स्कूडेटो विनिंग सीजन में. जैसे आप देख सकते हो एवरीवन कि बेसिकली वो टॉप, ऑब्वियसली ही वन द कपो कैनोनियर, टॉप स्कोरर था. और उसने बेसिकली उसका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टाइम लगा पर दिसंबर 2023 को एक्सटेंड किया अंटिल 26 विद अ रिलीज क्लॉज ऑफ 130 million एंड अ सैलरी which made him the highest paid player in the Serie, 10 million net. ठीक है, ये बहुत बड़ी सैलरी है एक तो. It's a huge salary for him. And then obviously उसके बाद उसके चल रहा था जो भी चल रहा था. And then we know अभी कॉन्टे कोच बना. एंड obviously the extension was only done because वो एक गारंटी देनी थी नापोली को कि पैसा मिलेगा अच्छा, because he was anyway set to leave in the summer. उसको छोड़ना था. Now what happened, obviously we know clubs को इतना स्ट्राइकर की जरूरत थी नहीं, या क्लब्स को 130 million शेल आउट करना नहीं था. एंड जो बार बार बोल रहे हैं ना नापोली इतना हाई प्राइस मांग रही है, देखो अगर दूसरे मार्केट्स में हाई प्राइसेस जा सकते हैं, नापोली हैज एवरी राइट टू आस्क फॉर सच अ हाई प्राइस फॉर द टॉप स्कोरर ऑफ द लीग, फॉर अ प्लेयर दैट इज वर्ल्ड क्लास इफ यू विल. सो उनका हक बनता है. देयर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग विद इट. एंड देन अगर आप देखो ऑब्वियसली कॉन्टे आल्सो मेड इट क्लियर कि ही ऑब्वियसली वांटेड टू कैश इन ऑन ओसिमन, बिकॉज जैसे योगेश ने बार बार पुरानी स्ट्रीम्स में बोला है, उसको पे तुम कैश इन करोगे, पैसा आएगा जिससे तुम प्लेयर खरीदोगे. एंड एज समवन हैज एज योशी कागे हैज पॉइंटेड आउट लेटर इन द कमेंट्स कि उनको एक्चुअली ये स्ट्रेटजी करनी थी, बट नाउ दे हैव एंडेड अप बाइंग प्लेयर्स विदाउट सेलिंग. Not that it's not sustainable for Napoli, but Napoli का वो है नहीं model of working. So they will be in a bit, they will incur a bit of losses now, which is not a big thing because Napoli usually profits बनाती है. So it's again not a that big a deal, but this is not their model. So they wanted to sell Osimhen. ऊपर से as you can see basically what happened, no deal with Al Ahly. Deadline day पे दो ऑप्शन है, Al Ahly और obviously ये अपना Chelsea. अगेन दोनों क्लब ने 80, अल अहली ने 80 million euros बिड किया जैसे कौस्तुभ ने बोला. बट फनीली इनफ अजय भाई, एडीएल बीइंग एडीएल, उसको 5 million एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए था जैसे कौस्तुभ ने थोड़ी देर पहले बोला. एंड डील अल अहली भड़क गई एंड दे वेंट आफ्टर इवान टोनी बिकॉज दे हैड ऑलरेडी डन हिज मेडिकल्स एंड एवरीथिंग. दे हैड दैट बैकअप ऑप्शन रेडी. Chelsea comes in with reportedly the same bid of 80 million or slightly less, which Napoli had an agreement for, but जो wages Chelsea ने ऑफर किए ऑब्वियसली बहुत कम थे. जैसे इधर बोला है 4 million सीजन पर सीजन इन वेजेस एंड 4 million in bonuses, which is way less than what he was earning at Napoli, obviously due to Chelsea's
more
handicap.
than half, I think.
Yeah, less than half due to Chelsea's handicapped situation. और जो sorry, just to bring up again, Chelsea sorry Al Ahly ने जो ऑफर किया था was 40 million euros per season, one obviously worth 160 million euros. So obviously मतलब the gulf in class in the offer was night and day. और आप देख सकते हो obviously Osimhen felt disrespected with what Chelsea offered. and बार-बार मैं ये जो बोल रहा हूँ, Osimhen has showed to the world that he's a supposed Chelsea fan, but he felt disrespectful from the offer, which is fair I guess. And then ये पूरा collapse हो गया and now he is stuck with Napoli, wherein we come to the situation as in I want to get your opinions one by one. यार एकदम brief में आप लोग बताओ, is it right, starting with Ajay bhai since he's just joined in, then Yogesh and Kostom, is it right to leave Victor Osimhen out of the club, Ajay bhai? Chalo, the relationship is broken between club, player and agent, and apparently Osimhen is considering sacking his agent also. Apparently ये भी आ रहा है अभी news में. But is it right to leave him out, barring the mood, the quality of the player? What if you convince him somehow कि चल तू जनवरी तक भी अगर या फिर एक सीजन कैसे तो निकाल ले, ज्यादा मत खेल, तू एक कम नंबर ऑफ गेम्स खेल, so that you remain fit, you're not getting any long term injury. Do you think they need to meet up, have some meeting and fix this, so that even if they can tell him कि तू अच्छा परफॉर्म करेगा, थोड़े गेम्स भी खेल के तेरा स्टॉक ऊपर रहेगा, people will still find it worth investing in you. What do you think of that, Ajay bhai?
100%. I think वही होना चाहिए यार. I mean, just imagine if Conte gets Osimhen and Lukaku as a front two and Kvaratskhelia just behind him. Very, very scary. So, अगर आप क्वालिटी की बात करो तो 100% Osimhen तो है ही यार, एक वर्ल्ड क्लास स्ट्राइकर है. तो अगर उसको आप somehow कन्विंस करते हो खिलाने के लिए, and you're linking him alongside Lukaku, who probably always needs a foil, right? Lukaku always does better with a second striker with him. ये आपने देखा था with Inter, with Lautaro. I mean, if they can replicate that at Napoli, like with Lukaku and Osimhen, I think Napoli are right up there as they're the favorites. Even if he stays for 1 year with one game a week, it could make a big difference for Napoli's chances also. So, I think this is the best solution for all parties concerned. Osimhen doesn't lose playing time on the pitch. Conte gets a world-class striker back in his squad. So overall, this is a win-win. Very ideal situation. पता नहीं क्या होने वाला है. Because Naples में कुछ भी हो सकता है भाई.
Naples में कुछ भी हो सकता है. That is well said. But Yogesh, तेरे fan perspective से मुझे बता. How does it feel as a fan? ठीक है, I know तुझे generally थोड़ा it's mixed emotions, but is this the right thing to do considering how broken the relationship is? क्योंकि तू हर रिपोर्ट में पढ़, वो जब याद है सोशल मीडिया का सागा which Arun brought up, तभी भी हमने वीडियोस देखी थी of Osimhen being extremely disappointed when he showed up to training, extremely sad. ये तो उससे भी बड़ा सागा है, right? Technically speaking, मतलब of how far it has gone. तो तुझे लगता है it's the right thing to do to keep him away from the team training, the team of Napoli altogether, और नहीं? Because he's your star striker नहीं यार, कुछ तो तुम कर सकते हो उसको not mend, but soften the blow, to soften the blow of what has happened. तुझे क्या लगता है क्या होना चाहिए?
यार मुझे तो क्लब क्या करेगी पता नहीं, but as a Napoli fan, I guess the best situation thing right now would be to keep the negativity away from the team, because that is the last thing that this Napoli team, which is not a finished product, needs. And I would say कि contract mutually end करना चाहिए. That is my opinion. Like, I don't see any way in which Victor Osimhen plays in this Napoli team. He has been very clear since last year, not this year. Since last year, he has been very clear. So I guess the best option right now is to mutually end the contract and let him go.
Fair enough. पर पैसे का लॉस, अगेन वही प्रॉब्लम होता है ना योगेश की, तुम लोग ने ऑलरेडी इनकम एक्सपेंडिचर में तुम लोग का एक्सपेंडिचर बढ़ गया और तुम लोग ओसिमेन के साथ म्यूचुअली भी टर्मिनेट करो तो कुछ तो पैसा, एंड दैट विल बी अ हेवी फी बिकॉज़ ओसिमेन का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंड एवरीथिंग जो भी है हेवी, तो तुम लोग का लॉसेस बढ़ जाएगा, एंड जो सेल तुम लोग देख रहे थे तुम लोग को मिलेगी नहीं, which you might not get either way. मतलब जो फी चाहिए था, बट क्या बोल सकते हैं, 80 million is better than 0 million, right, at the end of the day, अगर मिलता. But also before I get your opinion, थोड़े मैं comments ले लेता हूँ फटाफट, because I know a lot of people weighing in, so I'll come to your comments guys before I get to Kaustub's opinion and we move to some other transfer. कहाँ रुका था मैं? रॉयल का तो हो गया. एमरसन रॉयल क्यों आ रहा है सब जगह मेरे लिए? Yeah, I think we stopped here. Sobik, so we'll come to the other transfer news very shortly. Thanks for sharing it. I'll pull it up as we discuss other news. Shashrut, again, I'm starring your comment because ये है ना, this is a section I feel we can do it at the end थोड़ा. Top 5 transfer all big teams. So I'm starring your comment just like I starred the earlier comment. ये वरान का तो discuss कर लिया हमने बहुत briefly. Again, Shashrut, your top 6 transfer ये भी मैं star कर देता हूँ because these are good questions, but I feel we need to finish the news first. Sobix's biggest transfer of negative impact was Emerson Royal. He's a Milanista. terrible player. Mario Hermoso has signed for AS Roma. Yes, उसपे आते हैं. Sobik, we'll discuss it now that Ajay bhai is here. Tammy to Milan. I also changed my views. I think वो अच्छा transfer होगा. मैं आते हूँ. He assisted the goal right away. We'll come to it. Yoshikage का, sorry, I'd seen it. Osimhen can still move to Saudi. Yes, Swarnim bhai, but प्रॉब्लम इज जो टॉप टीम्स जिन पे इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है उनके पास जगह नहीं है, फॉरेनर लिमिट नहीं है टू प्ले इन द लीग. In the Asian competitions, they have reduced the limit for Saudi clubs generally. Matlab, you get to field 11 foreigners. So that's the only competition. If let's say they were to sign, that's the only competition he can play. And the mid-table and bottom-table teams too, he will also not sign for. So it's a very tricky situation. देखते हैं सऊदी जा सकता है, देखते हैं यार, देखते हैं. The entire Osimhen saga started with, हाँ ये तो sorry देख लिया था मैंने. One of the few times I agree with Arun bhai. Chelsea was offering 4 million plus 2 salary on last day. He really didn't get 20 million wages expected. हाँ, but Piyush, देखो Chelsea का तो handicap था, but Osimhen felt disrespected with that offer, right? So he was not accepting that. Club also made some statement like they won't sign an African player since African player.
That's right.
Yeah. यार ऐसा statement क्या ही बोले यार. Happens between the season. Yes, but ये knowledge सालों से है योशी का आगे. मतलब players have gone, come back, still done well. Yogesh, do you remember that Napoli season where half year, not 3-4 players went to the Africa Cup of Nations? और सब लोग को लगा था Napoli will choke in all the games because all their key players have gone. But without those players, Napoli won all their games. And funnily enough, this was Koulibaly's last season, if I'm not wrong. And when all those players came back, Ajay bhai, they started dropping points. मतलब that was the funniest thing. So ये जो notion है कि players जाते तो team weak हो जाती, it's not true always. Napoli has been another living example of it here. Napoli should have terminated if he went against them and the contract. If Napoli just to keep him for foregoing that, he wouldn't be. But terminate करके they lose their money ना Arun. Why should they terminate? वो लोग बोलेंगे हमारा पैसा जाता है. हम लोग ने expenditure की बात की, right? It's not a wrong point, but they lose a lot of money. Where is my? Achha, we are here only average foodie. Inter versus Monaco. Yes, even I'm excited here. Tough. I mean, we are also expecting a close game, even if we are the home team. Definitely easy to nahi hoga. Wait, I think he's elaborated on this point. Partly ADL also misread the situation of when and how much to sell him for. Very few clubs will pay 120 plus 15 million. Anthony Mudriks are not the standards, but योगेश क्या बोलते हैं? This is a fair point ना कि maybe 130 का नहीं डालना चाहिए था given आजकल फुटबॉल कैसे जा रहे हैं. Even if clubs have the money, but knowing how Osimhen is, knowing the striker market, maybe थोड़ा कम रखता, 100 million plus some bonuses, easily achievable bonuses, which could be triggered at a later date. क्या लगता है तुझे?
यार एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में मैं ये बोलता हूँ, लाइक हिग्वेन का जब ट्रांसफर हुआ था, that was like 90-95 million euros which Juventus paid and took him away. So Osimhen is leagues above Higuain. So it was a fair price if you consider that. Yeah, I'm not even considering Mudryk or these other transfers. I'm just talking about Napoli के साथ में क्या हुआ in the past.
हाँ नहीं, that is fair. मैं भी पहले थोड़ी देर बोला ना कि 130 million.
No one messes with Yogesh De Laurentiis. Guys, नाम एकदम बराबर है, एकदम.
या तुम योगेश के साथ भाई, या YDL ये एक्चुअली ना योगेश तू नेक्स्ट स्ट्रीम से ना अपना यूजर नेम YDL कर दे प्लीज. वो उस पे UCL should be fun this year. अजय भाई Yoshikage is happy to see you. Will Osimhen try to leave in Jan? I won't rule that out. Difficult लगता है, but again you can't rule it out. रजत देखते हैं. वैसे Napoli have to sell Osimhen since they bought many players on high price. Yeah, ये fair point है. Again, they're not in heavy losses, but this is the first market where they have मतलब spent more than they have sold, so it's very unusual of Napoli. Do subscribe guys, again मैं बार-बार बोल रहा हूँ, please.
ये सीजन के पहले the highest transfer was in the Rafa Benitez first season.
हाँ,
season where Callejon, Higuain and all those guys came in.
Yeah, that's funny. जब Solanke 70 million जा सकते तो Osimhen के लिए, so exactly, context is key. This is no disrespect to Dominic Solanke, but Ajay bhai has brought this up in the past. If Solanke can go for that, Victor Osimhen is Victor Osimhen. भाई वो 33 years के बाद नेपल्स में स्कूडेटो लाया है, जो योगेश मतलब जो बहुत generations of Napoli fans ने देखा नहीं है, ठीक है? So
and we also compared Solanke and Dogbek एक time पे कि Dogbek went for 35, Solanke went for 70. When what Dogbek did with Girona was something probably no other striker has done. In the club's history, kabhi bhi, 20 years or something. So that's how weird the striker market is.
Yeah, exactly. In theory, obviously, anyone should jump in to sign Osimhen, right, Ajay bhai? But the dynamics make so much of a difference, Like थोड़े clubs को जरूरत नहीं Ajay bhai, थोड़े clubs के पास पैसा नहीं उतना देने के लिए.
Osimhen को सबसे पहले उसका एजेंट चेंज करना चाहिए.
कैलेंडर. वो न्यूज आ रही है
So
अभी
it's
योगेश.
like,
हाँ.
if say Spurs hadn't signed Solanke for whatever fee they signed him for, जो Osimhen का value था on deadline day was about 15 million more than Solanke, 75 to 80.
हाँ 80.
So
हाँ.
तो घूम फिर के the price came out to be fairly similar. ज़्यादा difference नहीं था. So again, striker market can be really weird. कोई भी कितने में भी जाता है. Especially the goal scorers, more like, not just the strikers.
Exactly. So once Ajay bhai returns, we'll move to Kevin Danso and अपना Thiago Jallo जो क्या हुआ रोमा के साथ. But I think Kaustubh, तेरे just briefly to cap off what your prediction as to what will happen with Osimhen. Very briefly, क्या लग रहा है तुझे? What happens with Osimhen? When does he leave and where does he go?
I think the weird part about the saga is we're talking about two parties who are equally brain dead. To be very frank. So, and they are very insistent on their own ways because Osimhen wants his own way. Napoli, I think, are stronger in their stance that they want their own way as well. And I think एक चीज जो हमने cover नहीं करी, that is Napoli have apparently I don't know if it's a brief or not, but काफी outlets ने ऐसा report करा है कि Osimhen has actually refused to play for the club before as well. अभी की बात नहीं. This is way back. Could be, I think the report में there was no context when that really happened. So this could be that lockdown period we spoke about. So and could be last season where he was injured sometimes or बीच में वो randomly injury हो रही है and he's not playing some games. Could be at any point. And वो last season when that TikTok saga took place and those statements by Kvaratskhelia agent, उस time के around उसने matches miss करे थे. So we don't know what Napoli mean by the idea of him missing games in the past as well. So this is a very weird saga where I won't be surprised if Napoli right away say no, we are not reinstating you at all. And I think termination doesn't make sense because obviously they have money to recover and contract terminate करने के लिए they would have to pay a significant amount. And this is not the case which you can take up to the courts because there is no obvious sort of breach of contract जैसे Pogba के case में हुआ था. So I think he somehow stays around, but he doesn't play as such. मतलब वो, how do I put it? Say someone I think compared the situation to the Sancho situation where, although completely similar नहीं है, but Sancho say was reinstated into the squad for pre-season, was never part of the United squad for the first two games. But he was like, we knew कि हाँ है. If there's a situation in place, we can maybe get him back somehow. But in this case, Napoli have been so clear कि, and I don't know when the next time to register the players comes in. I think that takes place in January or around the January transfer window.
January.
So they can't reinstate him anymore. Even if so European competition तो खेल नहीं रहे. So reserves, they can't be.
Yeah, reserves के साथ वो खेल सकता है. He's eligible to play for the reserves, which is funny. It sounds so ridiculous. Now, obviously, fitness के लिए obviously रहता है वो. We've seen this when players come back from injury, they play for it. But ये जो situation की वजह से he's going to play in the reserves is just so unthinkable, यार. But before we close, Osimhen, एक last point ले लेता हूँ मैं. Kaustubh, you summed it up very well. I agree with you कि. But what's your prediction? Where do you think he goes? Which club? Any just over the top of your head? just एक bold prediction भी हो तो भी चलेगा.
I think he goes to Chelsea, regardless. He goes there, earns a decent amount. I don't know, January में या बाद में. Because I think financially Napoli are making losses. कुछ भी हो रहा. Because this is Serie, the financial reality of the Serie is completely different to your Premier League or La Liga or even Bundesliga. यहाँ पे you have to be selling players at the right time, and whatever the situation is, financially it doesn't favor Napoli at all. And January में, if they manage to move him on, at least they'll be able to recover something, if not a huge amount, कुछ तो recover हो जाएगा. So I think that is what will happen. I still think he's going to Chelsea.
Fair enough, fair enough. So that's Kostup's prediction, guys. Salary is also a big aspect. 120 million is 24 million when amortized. Yes, if one pay 60 million gross, it will be 40 million on books. Absolutely. But for someone like Solanke, salary 68 million gross, 32 million on books. Yeah, fair point, Piyush. But again, it's about the caliber of striker also. Now, we know that Osimhen is the better player right now as of today, as of this stream, right? उसकी salary जब उसका एक क्लियर आइडियोलॉजी है कि उसको वो 10 मिलियन से कम चाहिए नहीं पीयूष उसको 10 मिलियन दिया था ओनली एज अ वे आउट so that वो रहेगा खुशी से रहेगा समर में and then he'll leave पर वो पूरा बैकफायर हां बोल
Napoli we've seen in the past that De Laurentiis ka tactic a lot of times for players who want to leave or the so-called rebels in the squad which Zelensky was at a point he outright threatens them that you're out of the project. You have been excluded from the squad. Instead of doing that उसने contract दिया to make sure that uski value protected rahe, which De Laurentiis doesn't give two shits about a lot of times in the cases of other players. So यहाँ पे थोड़ा treatment दिया था Osimhen को.
Yeah, that's true. क्या thoughts है लगता है अगर Osimhen अच्छा करे Naples में qualify for CL so and if they qualify for CL can he stay or leave? Yogesh ने clearly बता दिया he's not staying. Yogesh said कुछ chance ही नहीं है right Yogesh? There's no scope to mind this. एंड उसको रजिस्टर ही नहीं किया ना रजत उसको सीएल स्क्वाड में भी सीएल तो है ही नहीं माय बैड बट क्वालीफाई सेरिया स्क्वाड में तो रजिस्टर किया नहीं हां एग्जैक्टली और विंडो तो जनवरी में है तो एटलीस्ट टिल जनवरी ही इज प्लेइंग विद द 90 अंडर 19 टीम इफ ही प्लेज बट आई थिंक लेट्स मूव ऑन फ्रॉम ओसीमन आई थिंक अच्छे से डिस्कस कर लिया बहुत डिस्कस कर लिया अजय भाई आई होप आपको सब सुनाई दे रहा है मतलब बराबर है राइट आपके एंड पे विल कम टू एएस रोमा नाउ आई होप आई एम ऑडिबल टू यू यार नाइस टू हैव यू क्रिश फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपके जेनोआ गेम का प्रेडिक्शन देता हूं मैं विल कम टू इट बट
अजय भाई हरा दो हेलास वेरोना को मैं
हां बस वही चाहिए हरा दो हेलास वेरोना को बट अजय भाई ऑब्वियसली आई विल पुल दिस अप व्हाट हैपेंड ओवर हियर सॉरी यार आपके दो ट्रांसफर्स ऑब्वियसली कोलैप्स हो गए Kevin Danso and Thiago Jallo from UA obviously Kevin Danso from RC Lons I'll just pull this article up पहले तो यार ऐसे लग रहा था you had beaten Atalanta to the transfer of Kevin Danso. Yeah. Atalanta was interested at some point, obviously. पर ऐसा लग रहा था Roma was going to seal the deal in a loan plus obligation fashion or something, right? And वो medicals sorry?
He landed in Rome as well for the medicals.
Yes, he landed in Rome. Yes, we'll come to that. और ऐसा लग रहा था सब ट्रैक पे था. And there are a lot of theories about this, but I'll start with you and then everything collapses out of nowhere. And Roma are now left without a central defender जो चाहिए था obviously team को.
Yeah.
What can you break down the situation for us and what do you think should have मतलब do you really wanted Kevin Danso at the club? What's your thoughts on the whole saga before I pull up articles?
Look, थोड़ा fishy लग रहा है in terms of see the first medical the official reason of him failing the medical was an irregular heartbeat.
Yeah.
And Lons kind of disagreed to do a second medical checkup as well to confirm the same. And अगर viewers को पता नहीं तो Serie में ये बहुत strict रहता है with regards to anything. You know, so failing medicals in Italy is rather medicals in Italy is far more stringent. So yeah, तो ये second round Lons kind of अगर issues नहीं होता तो they would have agreed to do it. I'm sure that they have found an underlying issue. I don't wish to comment because at the end of the day, the health of the player is the most important thing. So as a fan, obviously, because having looked at Kevin Danso's performances, looked like a very promising prospect. Can play across a back three, back four easily. As a fan, obviously, it's kind of sad that we missed out on a player. But अगर ये ऐसा है situation, तो इसमें कुछ नहीं कर सकता, क्लब भी कुछ नहीं कर सकता है, ना ही इसके एजेंट्स कुछ कर सकते हैं. I just hope and wish that the player is okay and he can continue at the highest level because we've seen what has happened. I don't want to go into detail कि recent times में क्या हुआ players के साथ on the pitch with regards to health issues. So yeah, I think ये legal तो होने ही वाला है. And even Thiago Jallo का similar है because Thiago Jallo का एक ACL tear हो चुका है already.
Thiago Jallo पे आते हैं अजय भाई because I want to discuss that separately थोड़ा because उस पे तो एक अलग discourse चल रहा है with the US side of story and the Roma side of story. But before we move to that, जैसे आपने बोला अजय भाई कि initial test ये जो article Roma Press पे है were carried out by doctors of CONI and जैसे आपने बोला कि इटली में strict medical tests होते हैं because of heart issues to players in the past and we've seen it. And obviously the test suggested कि not everything was right, and obviously double test plan किए थे, but Lons backed out, and obviously Kevin Danso of all people was very shocked क्योंकि उसने statement release किया, अगर आप ये देख सकते हो. He said statement on the failed transfer to AS Roma. I'm disappointed and upset about the events of the past and the failed transfer to AS Roma. Very surprised by the supposed reason for the collapsed transfer, but the doctors of Austrian Football Association, of course, and the medical department of Lons monitored and examined him very closely over the last few years, and he has been thoroughly assessed as part of pre-season and everything, and no irregularities have been found. And therefore, the interpretations of the medical check in Rome are highly perplexing and completely incomprehensible to my team and I. I will now discuss my situation with the responsible parties at Lons and at the OFB and focus on the tasks ahead. But Ajay bhai, obviously he is baffled, as you said. But I think this goes hand in hand with the point you mentioned कि Italy में ज़्यादा strict tests होते हैं, or which might not happen with the obviously the Austrian Football Association or at Lons, और उसमें उनको कुछ मिला. So in hindsight, obviously as you said, everyone, all of us wish the player the best. It's sad to see अगर उसके साथ कोई issue है, obviously his health comes first. But in hindsight, are you all right with this deal not going through? मतलब because quality है player. Sure, he's a bit error prone here and there, but player is good enough. And technically, to his point, he's been playing all these years without any issues. But that doesn't mean obviously आगे जाके कोई issue हो नहीं सकता. You have to be very careful with all this. But in hindsight, are you all right? Because obviously we'll tie this up with the Hermoso situation. But yeah, what's your take on that?
I think it makes sense here because अगर आप देखोगे, अगर if this is the issue, if there was a second round of tests that had Lons agreed to it, then I think this transfer could have been completed. But I think what happened that even Lons changed their minds. अभी वो तो obviously media में आएगा नहीं, because ये भी एक loan deal था and loan plus obligation था. Probably they'll be getting cash up front from somewhere else. This is Kevin Danso who wanted to come to Roma for the project, for the role that he was getting. So modern football में वही होता है कि the moves is now dictated by the players and the agent, not by the clubs. I mean, it is, of course, the club is involved, but अगर आप देखोगे कि agent and player का जो nexus है वो बहुत ज़्यादा है. एक अलग tangent में जा रहा हूँ मैं, but Kevin Danso and his agent wanted to come to Rome, and hence I think, in my opinion, Lons maybe were not agreeable for a second round of tests because they knew that they can get the cash from somewhere else upfront rather than doing a loan plus obligation to buy. So I think मेरे हिसाब से यही हुआ है. Obviously, as a fan, he's a very good player, and I would have personally wanted to see him in Roma colours. But अब जो है वो है. Again, wishing the best of health to the player, and quite happy that we are signing Hermoso, because Hermoso is again a very versatile player. And I think he would slot into the De Rossi system far more efficiently than Danso.
But that's a fair play. Hermoso पे मैं योगेश के भी opinions लूँगा थोड़ी देर में, योगेश, because I know Hermoso was literally linked to Inter first, then Napoli, then Bologna and Milan simultaneously, and now finally वो जा रहा है रोम में. But योगेश, तेरे पे आने से पहले मैं कॉस्तु पे पूछना चाहता हूँ, Thiago Jallo. Again, Ajay, I'll get your opinion, because Thiago Jallo ऐसा लग रहा था USA was close to Roma on a loan deal. Obviously, एक context में background देना चाहता हूँ कि Thiago Jallo was obviously close to a move to Inter. Last around November, December, Inter had got the deal done for a free transfer in the following summer. But UA came in, they signed him the January. Obviously, before that, summer came along and Inter was very clear कि नहीं, हम लोग को January में नहीं चाहिए, हम लोग को चाहिए तो सिर्फ free में summer को चाहिए. ठीक है कौस्तुभ? That was the situation. UA signed him. But the issue was UA ने risk लिया क्योंकि this guy was coming off an ACL injury at Lille, and clearly we can see he has not overcome that ACL injury because under Allegri barely खेला वो 6 महीने. Mota के against भी Mota has not found him convincing, उसकी issues चल रही है. And again Roma was Ajay bhai close to sealing a signing for Thiago Jallo, but they backed out, and obviously उसका भी interview हुआ था publicly before he flew out. He didn't give an answer, but he also looked disappointed. But Kaustubh, anything on this situation? Because again, it looks like the knee issues have led to Roma backing out. But what do you think? Do you think really that was the case, या फिर कुछ और issue भी था इस deal में? Any insight on that?
I don't know, because उसमें there has not been, जैसे in the case of Kevin Danso, we could see कि, and especially the fact that Italy में the heart cases are taken very stringently, because हमने पहले देखा है Christian Eriksen was allowed to leave very quickly, and you can't play with a defib as well. So, in case mein, there has not been too much information which can tell us what really went down. But because I think this is, after all, a former Lille player. And Lille and Serie clubs have a good relationship, but थोड़ा सा weird सा context है because Napoli के साथ वो Osimhen transfer में वो केस हुआ था, and then Milan के का जो partnership था that was also under investigation. Juventus के साथ उनके recently tie-ups अच्छे हुए हैं. So if you consider that, I seriously sort of doubt if Thiago Jallo in the first place was even fully fit when he joined Juve.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Lille, he obviously didn't play for Juve. I think he was on the bench under Allegri for some games in the second half of the season, but never really played. So I think there is no clear indication of whether there was an issue that cropped up in the medical or not, or whatever happened. But something still tells me कि कुछ medical issue है which sort of stopped the move from going through, because it's not news that Thiago Jallo is someone who will not be used by Juve. वो बाकी क्लब से भी लिंक हुआ है with multiple clubs across Europe, and nothing really materialized. So something tells me that clubs were sort of cautious about him in the very first place, and after he joined Juve, not before that Inter Juve wala saga broke out. And I think one reason why Inter probably didn't want him in January is that
they wanted
also
his
had
ACL
doubts कि ACL injury recover हो जाए, then we seek assurance. So I think वो injury का context काफी important है, and considering it's Lille, who have some shady relations with at least 2 clubs in Serie, and Juventus के साथ भी अच्छे links उन्होंने establish कर लिए हैं, Timothy Weah, for example. So I think कुछ ना कुछ weird medical reason वहाँ पे भी
है. You're right, because they
I think Param, Ravindra, the comments has actually summed it up एकदम perfectly.
Yes.
Losing out on the transfer Jallo is more a problem for
Juve than Roma. Roma are getting Hermoso. So I'll pull that comment up, but जैसे आप देख सकते हो, having only played Yogesh 16 minutes March of 2023, low cost gamble. Like again, Inter को summer में ही चाहिए था because they wanted to see if this guy's ACL heals or not. और free transfer में आप verbal agreement कर सकते हो, but you can always back out later. ठीक है? And इसके issues चल रहे हैं. But before we close out Jallo very quickly, Ajay bhai, and we'll get to the comments after this. Before I start Hermoso with Yogesh. Yeah, Ajay bhai, there is this. Yesterday, Swarnim bhai also brought it up on our group. And again, Swarnim bhai, if you're here, you brought this point up. So I thought it would be interesting as a point of discussion. What are your thoughts on fans out there, and whoever it is, basically UA fans or those from the entourage of Thiago Jallo जो बोल रहे हैं कि रोमा ने सही नहीं किया. What is your take on that? Like a very neutral take, if you want, or anything you want to say, because I feel Thiago
neutral take तो नहीं रहेगा. Neutral take तो नहीं रहेगा. It'll be a biased take.
That's fair enough.
Because end of the day, I feel bad for the player, obviously, but having played 16 minutes of first team football, and obviously he's not going to be a starter, and I think Roma have had their fair share of ACLs and knees and all of that. So end of the day, it's I think एक cover के लिए Roma डर गई थी कि अब अगर Hermoso नहीं आया तो we don't have any cover for a centre back, and because alternatively side by side, as you know, Chris Smalling has reportedly agreed a move to Saudi, so that would have actually been disastrous if Roma didn't have any centre backs to cover. So Jallo was like a panic move, and Juve thought कि चलो might as well get rid of him, because that's honestly what Juve want to do considering his injury record and everything. And it didn't materialize because I think by that time the Hermoso move was sealed, and hence I guess Gisolfi pulled the plug on the Jallo loan move. So ये थोड़ा behind the scenes होते रहता है. It's unfortunate it has happened. You can say that Roma are the bad guy in this particular scenario, but the club is also trying to protect its own interest. And I just feel bad for the player. I mean, it's just
exactly
quite a horrible thing a player has to go through. As in a human aspect, it's a horrible thing that the player has to go through. But that's how cutthroat this business of football is.
Business has become exactly. और जैसे स्वर्णिम भाई ने बोला, obviously we are just having a discussion here.
Absolutely, he's
point
spot on.
I wanted, या वो गलत चीज है, बट आई थिंक स्वर्णिम भाई लोग ने एक बेसिक मेडिकल टेस्ट भी किया, उसमें पता चल गया था कि हाँ यार ये बंदा इज नॉट फिट स्टिल. And as you're right, I think obviously UNA वो move anticipate करके गलती की, because the whole point of interwaiting until the summer was to see कि इस बंदे का ECL recover होता है कि नहीं. Because I can assure you, Italy में तो strict checks है as part of strict checks, but at Inter we do very strict medical checks to the point where we had once caught Icardi of faking an injury, just to add context, just to say how strict it is at Inter. So definitely
I'm not surprised that Icardi was faking an injury.
so let's थोड़ा comments लेते हैं. Then योगेश मैं तेरे पे आता हूँ. Hermoso, what do you think of him at Roma? आता हूँ जरा उस पे. आता हूँ क्रिश, ये prediction लेता हूँ. इनमें AC मिलान में लॉफ्टस चीक अच्छा खेल लिया तो रॉयल बेस्ट राइट बैक बनेगा. What are your thoughts about Kolpani and Bove moving to Fiorentina along with also with Gozens and Dea? They are a team to watch out for. योगेश, तेरी थॉट्स ले. तेरे को क्या लगता है? पेपर पे तो ऑब्वियसली कोलपानी इज अ गुड साइनिंग, राइट योगेश? अच्छा टैलेंट है. गोजेंस ही इज नॉट द सेम एनीमोर. डेया आल्सो ठीक है, चलो पेनल्टी शूटआउट में बचा लिया, जितवा लिया, बट तुझे लगता है दिस विल, बिकॉज एज ऑफ टुडे वी आर सीइंग एविडेंस दे हैव नॉट हिट द ग्राउंड रनिंग. डू यू थिंक दिस इज इन द लॉन्ग टर्म ये सेटल हो जाएगी फियोरेंटीना? क्या लग रहा है तुझे एज द सीजन गोज ऑन?
फियोरेंटीना का सिचुएशन काफी अभी लाइक डाइसी है. Things have not settled down, and उनकी squad भी अभी काफी, it will take them decent amount of time to settle down. I don't see the signing of Gosens. Like Gosens is like way past his best days, so I don't see him how efficiently he can contribute to the team. Similar goes for De Gea as well. So I think we'll just have to see with time, like how Fiorentina evolves with this squad. I think for Fiorentina, a realistic target should be finishing in the top 10, but nothing more than that.
True.
I personally think top 8 maybe.
Top 8 आप बोल रहे हो Fiorentina? Wow. मुझे लग रहा है they're finishing below Torino and Parma. I literally have that feeling because they'll take like I feel a year to settle. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है. But ठीक है, that you again Ajay bhai could have a point, because at the end of the day quality is also there. It's just about when it clicks and how it clicks, right? And as
Palladino को समय लगेगा Palladino को, you know. So
yes.
I rate him as a very good coach, one of the brightest come out in recent.
It's just funny to see कि Palladino के अंदर you have Keane, De Gea, defense इतना weak है यार, मतलब.
अब Moise Kean is firing. I mean, it's good to see. Good for Italy that he's firing. But but personally, Bove, man, one of my बच्चास of Roma. तेरे को पता है कि मैं सारे रोमा से हमारा बच्चों को मेरे बच्चे मानता हूँ. तो एक ऐसा एक बच्चा जो छोड़ के जाता है. बहुत साल पहले अक्विलानी जब लिवरपूल गया था, तो you know वैसी फीलिंग आई थी. Aquilani was in tears. He was in tears when he was at Fiumicino airport to travel to Liverpool. Bove का भी काफी सिमिलर था.
आप एयरपोर्ट की बात कर रहे हो, इसलिए मैं बोवे पे भी आ जाऊंगा बिफोर वी मूव ऑन क्विकली, बिफोर वी मूव टू Hermoso. 4 million is definitely bad for Osimhen, पर obviously उनके their hands are tied. Shivam, hello everyone. Conte Osimhen to Sasbo serial. Nice to have you, Shivam. That's an accurate comparison, to be fair. Your thoughts on RLC's performance as Sobek in these 3 matches? Cause तो क्या लगता है? Because RLC जो start किया था last season, उससे तो एकदम मतलब drop हो गया. क्या लग रहा है तुझे? एकदम briefly इसका answer.
I think उसको अभी भी there are still a lot of dilemmas about what his real position is.
Yeah.
And I think it's 10 for me personally. For his long term, say. And I think कल वो number 10 खेला था, which is I think his real position. But I don't know Fonseca के system में वो number 10 थोड़ा differently function करेगा as compared to Pioli के system में कैसे कर रहा था, because Pioli के system में number 10 can do a very off the ball job where he is winning those second balls. यहाँ पे थोड़ा possession oriented होगा. कल नहीं था, कल they sort of adapted. But I think the main reason for the inconsistency is purely the fact that Loftus-Cheek जैसी profile का player can play a lot of positions, and that can have advantages, but इस case में it's a disadvantage.
Yeah. I agree. पर यार I'll just take a few more comments. नहीं, I agree. RLC का वो again he's stuck in that rut, it feels like, and let's see if with the competition he can break through. Anthony की बात मत करो, depression आ जाता है. Yoshikage says, I'm just trying to wonder what UAE will do with Arthur Melo. Our midfield is already super stacked and Arthur makes a lot of money for a bench warmer. What I like, Ravindra, he also points out glaring issues with what Juventus have. As good as their market has been, which all of us agree with, उन्होंने मस्त market किया, हम लोग touch upon करेंगे. But उन्होंने cost, they still have cost to cut. जैसे Swarnim Bhai has also told us constantly on chat and everything, and he's right, because again this is another unhappy player. ठीक है, उसको ट्रेनिंग में लेंगे नहीं ये वो, but there are costs which need to be cut. उसका Lazio, sorry, Napoli, Yogesh was trying, but Napoli made Yogesh intervened and said De Laurentiis को बोला कि भाई तो चुप कर, Billy Gilmore साइन कर, इसको नहीं साइन करना है. But yeah, Ravindra, very fair point you have brought up. I believe players at overpriced value bubble is bust. No one wants to pay over the top money. पर ओसिमेन का मार्केट सिचुएशन भी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड था. आते इस पे आलू बिरयानी, विल डू इट, we'll take the predictions because we already have Costa, who's a Man United fan. Same for Victor Osimhen at Napoli. I mean, for if Napoli are paying the salary, might as well use him as in an isolated role. You could say so. Yes, Sobik, we answered it. RLC wala. Why Real Madrid are struggling after arrival of Kylian Mbappe? Rohit, ये question एकदम अलग tangent पे, but very briefly, Ajay, if you want to answer this very quickly.
I think it's a matter of settling down यार. It's just time दो यार. ये FIFA नहीं है कि आप किसी player को transfer करते हो और चालू करते तो they will come good.
Yeah.
I also think थोड़ा I watched their first 2-3 games. उसमें Ancelotti is still sort of figuring out कि कौन कहाँ पे
exactly.
Last Palmas वाले मैच में आडा गुलोय randomly center forward में घूम रहा है, and 5 minutes later Endrick comes on. तो वो, as Ajay bhai said, वो combination manager को भी
exactly. And वो Carlo Ancelotti खुद as a joke बोला था ना, we'll do something. And the thing is, they're still figuring out, because both these players, Vinicius, Kylian, like to play in half spaces, and already इतने players हैं जो वो half spaces में operate करते हैं. So it's about timing. वो लगेगा figure out होने में यार. It's जैसे अजय भाई ने बोला, it's not FIFA at the end of the day. I would say best of luck to Roma. I hope एक बार तो Scudetto जीत जाए, just like John Abraham smiled for Northeast United. I expect the same for a nice guy like you. Yes, congrats to Northeast United, by the way. यार Durand Cup जीत गए penalties पे. What a game it was. So good to see. Unfortunately, Kerala Blasters is the only club without a trophy in the ISL so far.
Sad. I feel sad for the fans here.
I feel for their fans. Yes, I do know some Kerala Blasters fans who are nice, and I feel for them. If Victor refuses to play for Napoli without leaving the club, I sincerely hope Napoli can stop paying his salary. Either that will set him straight, or Napoli will save money. But Ravindra, salary बंद कर दियो, legal action लेके मार देगा भाई Napoli. I know you know this. I know you're just saying it out of
Yogesh De Laurentiis है ना यहाँ पे, वो allow नहीं करेगा.
Yogesh will do something again. Yogesh will do something. We wanted Koulibaly for 2 years and didn't buy because of the 80 million price tag.
Scotland का क्या connection है Yogesh तेरा?
Yes, we will come to it. उस पे आते हैं. We'll close with Bove Hermoso and then come to the Scottish Napoli connection. Yes, Maguire तुम लोग को मिल गया. Obviously, a lot of clubs wanted Koulibaly. Yogesh has some contract with Napoli in the transfer team. He goes missing. Yeah, exactly. And that day he worked overtime. Sorry, bolo Ajay bhai.
I'm saying it is not a suspicion. It's news. It's like, it's a fact.
Confirmation.
Yeah, it's a fact, exactly. ये Ravindra का point we had brought up earlier. Yogesh bhai moved a little just to drink. ये बात तो कर रहा है यार, अभी आज का issue है. Picture. Just to answer this quickly. January में तो नहीं. No chance, because Fratesi will get it. यार उस दिन ना मैं अपने एक इंटर ग्रुप पे ये डिस्कशन चल रहा था. पीपल वर गेटिंग वर्कड अप. ज़ीलिंस्की अभी तक 1 मिनट कॉम्पिटिटिव खेला कैसा नहीं है. एक तो 1 हफ्ता इंजर्ड था. सेकंड गेम के पहले ही जस्ट रिटर्न फ्रॉम हिज इंजरी. एंड यार 3 गेम हुआ है लिटरली सीजन में. सेम अप्लाइज फॉर फ्रैटेजी. वी आर प्लेइंग अ लॉट ऑफ कॉम्पिटिशंस. ही विल गेट हिज टाइम, एंड इफ फ्रैटेजी इज अनहैप्पी कम समर, ही विल बी सोल्ड. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. वी विल ऑलवेज फाइंड अ रिप्लेसमेंट. आई नो हिज एजेंट इज always very keenly monitoring the situation, ki to the point where if Fratesi usko lagta hai kam khel raha hai to he will try to move him, but Inter clear hai. Inter ko paisa nahi milega अच्छा, तो he will not go anywhere. And I know Fratesi personally is happy at Inter. It's his agent trying to stir the pot, nothing else. तो देखते हैं. अभी तक to be very clear, there is absolutely no issues. He will get his time. कोई problem नहीं है. जैसे अरुण ने बोला, Fratesi is very important because he adds a very different dynamic to Inter's midfield, goal scoring वाला. Yes, we took this comment Swarnim भाई का. Torino top 6. मैं क्या slander कर रहा हूँ भाई? I'm bigging up Torino here. मैं चाहता हूँ Torino top 6 में आए. With all the depleted team, they still beat Venezia in a tough game यार. बहुत अच्छा लगा देख के मुझे. Dea would be a good signing for Fiorentina. Let's see, Swarnim. I hope for their sake. Yeah, पहुंच गया then Prime Dragovski. अजय भाई आपको याद है वो कितने सेल्स करता था यार ये बंदा Dragovski?
And
गायब
then he
हो
would
गया.
make an error next game. You know,
Yeah.
वैसा होता था.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jan window में देखते हैं. We are not ruling it out, Vishu, but we can't say no also. I mean, we can't say yes also. मतलब कि जाएगा ही नहीं. It's very tricky. Kostic could be of use, but Arthur no. Fair point. Arthur Melo CV, UA Liverpool Barca. पर नहीं मैं रोस्ट नहीं कर रहा यार. I have a lot of friends who support KBFC, so I genuinely feel bad for them. I'm very very honest. Bikko is here. Says hi to Ajay bhai. Kone sorry. कोने के साथ कोने पे डिस्कस करते हैं यार. सो लेट्स कम टू द कमेंट्स लेटर यार. we'll come to your comments, but Ajay bhai very quickly, Eduardo Bove गया. He was very sad because initial news था कि उसको Eintracht Frankfurt चाहिए था only in a loan deal because he could return to Roma in the future. हाँ, in the future. But क्या हुआ कि Fiorentina में गया, who have an option to buy, and it seems easy to be triggered, not so hard if he has a good season. Obviously, it's based on appearances. Obviously, तो क्या लग रहा है because he lost to another local boy, and I mean who's very sad to leave Roma. Any thoughts? And what kind of a sign could be for Fiorentina? What kind of a sign?
Look, Bove is, I would say, not a technically most sound player, but very hardworking, picks the ball back. वो एक जो आप बोलते हैं raging pitbull बोलते हैं ना कि वो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ करता है. He's very good in recovering possession and breaking up play. That's his quality. And obviously since वो local Roma lad है, तो मेरे को तो बहुत ज़्यादा affection था उसको, मतलब as a player. And I personally didn't want him to leave. And funnily enough, the one player who kind of reminded me of Bove in his young days was a young Daniele De Rossi, wearing number 27 and then wearing number 4 and scoring that goal against Real Madrid. मैं live देखा था मैंने वो. Cassano and De Rossi gave a 2-0 lead to Roma away at the Bernabeu half time pay, and Roma lost 4-2 after that. They conceded 4 goals in the second half. But Bove reminded me of that De Rossi. And Mourinho kind of brooded Bove, and it would have been मतलब एकदम simple logic कि De Rossi would improve Bove. But the minute De Rossi came on as manager, he stopped playing Bove altogether. And now, he's kind of like, rejected him and he's moving on. So I don't know what went wrong and why De Rossi doesn't rate Bove. Personally, I just feel as a fan, as a Romanista, it's sad to see him go. And I think that this could be a Calafiori 2.0. Calafiori bolo, Politano bolo, Fratesi bolo, Scamacca. There are so many examples of, Roma losing a youth player and then they turn up well and play for another club and become, fulfill their potential.
Because Fiorentina do need, obviously needed a midfielder. ये तो सच है. And obviously वो gap तो वो अभी fill हो गई है. मतलब उनका एक midfielder young छोड़ के obviously will come to that. But Yogesh, that's moving on from Bove. But I want to get your thoughts on Mario Hermoso थोड़ा, because obviously it looks like he's obviously signed for Roma. वो Rome में आ चुका है, सब हो चुका है. But this guy again was linked with everyone. जैसे बोला नापोली को भी चाहिए था 1 point पे, but उस टाइम पे योगेश वो बहुत high wages मांग रहा था. अभी obviously थोड़ा कट ले लिया उसने, और उस टाइम पे हाई थे. Do you think he's functional enough, he's good enough for Roma? मतलब ठीक है, we know, क्योंकि मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैं बहुत एटलेटिको मैड्रिड फैन से बात किया, and I've watched this guy play. For me, he's not that good a player. बहुत errors करता है individually. Just when he's in a good setup, he looks comfortable. मुझे लगता है considering योगेश where Roma's defense stands and given that it's a bit of a last minute signing because उनको डांसो नहीं मिला, जालो नहीं मिला, do you think चल जाएगा सिस्टम बेस्ड इसमें De Rossi के साथ चल जाएगा? And considering he's also taking a wage cut, do you think ठीक है signing चल जाता है? It's all right, not a big problem.
I think Roma एक gamble ही कर रहा है because like एक point ये भी होता है ना कि like a player is available for free, but none of the clubs across 5 leagues and other leagues have come forward and actually take him in their team. तो थोड़ा सा वो player के fitness and his quality पे भी doubts raise करता है. So I would say Roma is just taking a gamble, and only time will tell whether it would be a good or bad.
Fair play. Because कैसा है ना अजय and Costa, will come to you. Obviously news आ रही कि we saw Smalling is going to Al Fayha, and because of that Roma can sign both Knights Hummels and Hermoso Yogesh. So considering that Hummels भी आएगा, देखो again I feel Hummels थोड़ा overperformed last season because उसके पहले he was on the down. Now the test is whether he can keep that up this season. ठीक है. But Ajay bhai, coming to you, do you think Hummels और Hermoso will be fine enough at AS Roma, considering कि आपको एक experience तो मिल ही जाता है dynamic wise, ठीक है. But do you think it's good enough? Is my question to have longevity for the season.
I hope so because Hummels अगर वो last season of Dortmund का performances लेके आए तो I think एक season चल जाएगा. It's not a long term strategy obviously. And it's just that the timing has been a bit off because ये आपको start of the transfer market से पता था कि आपका center backs you need to kind of do something about it because you had Endika and Mancini as your 1 and 2. उसके बाद में you had Kumbula, you had Smalling, who Kumbula obviously has gone ahead to Espanyol. So you needed 2 center backs right from the start of the summer market. And we are on 1st September and it's still not fixed. So एक थोड़ा सा worry है. Yeah, it is a concern, and you need depth because considering the amount of games that all teams are playing this year, you have an expanded Europa League, expanded Champions League, and of course Serie में तो है ही 3 games in a week. So थोड़ा सा एक डर है. I just hope that the gamble pays off. Hermoso and Hummels ka. Smalling, when Smalling is fit, amazing player. Unfortunately, his fitness and his wages are a concern. So again, he's one of the fan favorite, Smalling, but it makes financial sense for him, for Roma to let him go. So ये दोनों थोड़ा एक dicey है, gamble है, and as a Roma fan, I just hope that it works out, both Hermoso and Hummels.
Fair play. एक last Roma के बारे में मानू कोने लेते because Bikku has asked.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Bikku and Ajay very briefly here because obviously last day it was a bad. Just before I ask you guys. हाँ बोलो अजय भाई.
Param Kosub, I think this is the Danso money that was paid immediately.
हाँ, वो suspicion है. हाँ, वही क्योंकि थोड़ी conspiracy theories were going around कि रोमा ने जानबूझ के दोनों डील्स कोलैप्स करवाए. Like obviously it's not true because Italy में medical checks strict होते हैं. But initial conspiracy theory at the time was going around because मानू कोने को साइन करना था और पैसे अगर डांसो करते तो शायद वो नहीं होता. And they were competing neck and neck with AC Milan. अगर बेनासेर का डिपार्चर हो जाता तो AC Milan could have got कोने. But वही सस्पिशन एक था. But सस्पिशन aside, कौस्तुभ एंड अजय भाई, fantastic signing. Any thoughts on it?
बस क्रिस्टाने को बेंच कर दे.
हाँ, exactly. I mean, वो जैसा the sort of profile Kone has, a very ball progressing midfielder. I think Enzo Leffi and him are fairly press resistant in comparison to what Roma had last season. Talk of whoever they had, your Paredes is still fine. Cristante, Aouar or Renato Sanchez. So they're essentially upgrading and they're bringing in players. जैसे अपने last match में हम लोग अपने chart पे discuss कर रहे थे Empoli के against. They needed someone who could play against the press when Leffi was on the bench, and Empoli were sort of pressing in a mid block, but वो Roma उसके through नहीं खेल पा रहे थे. And they were build up shapes change हो रही थी, but second half में they ended up going long instead of playing through them. So I think कोने के आने से ये एक advantage होता है कि when a side is pressing them and they're trying to say, जैसे last match में रोमा ने एक time पे try करा था, they are trying to attract Empoli into pressing them, but Empoli ने बोला we're not pressing high. So if a team is pressing high, Kone जैसा player is going to be very important because it's like the sort of profile that I was speaking to a lot of Premier League fans जिनको midfielders चाहिए थे, Liverpool fans वगैरह, they actually saw Kone as a very good option. And for Roma to get that player, it's like a massive coup because वो अभी मैंने बोला Aouar has gone for a good profit for Roma, and Sanchez obviously wasn't made a permanent deal. And अभी जो squad में थोड़े issues हैं, अभी अजय भाई ने क्रिस्टांटे की बात करी, and the sort of start of the season Cristante has had, वो lamppost performances जो आती हैं उसकी, where he can't move, बस खड़ा रहता है. So I think Kone is like an upgrade, and he takes that midfield from a technical perspective to a new level.
ठीक है, या आई एग्री विद यू बिकॉज मानू कोने बहुत सॉलिड है, प्रेस रेजिस्टेंट भी है, मिलान को इसलिए चाहिए था ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे योर साइनिंग, एक तो कंपटीशन बहुत हैवी था, यू नो मिलान हैड टू लेट गो ऑफ वन मिडफील्डर टू साइन हिम एंड इट वाज क्वाइट क्लोज, दोनों का पर्सनल टर्म्स तो अग्री थे दोनों क्लब्स के साथ,
came down to I think Benacer का
yes, departure
situation.
which did happen, but both clubs moved quickly. Yogesh is in a bit of a rush, guys. Anyways, his stream थोड़ी देर में बंद होगी, but I know Yogesh को थोड़ा rush है. But Yogesh, before we continue with Mano Kone, Yogesh, any thoughts on Napoli's Mercato? I'll quickly pull it up on the arrivals and everything on Transfermarkt just to get people an idea. How much would you rate it on 10, bro? कितना rating करेगा? I'll just show you the ins and outs, obviously. But generally, क्या rating है तेरा 10 में से?
Yeah, I would have given 10 on 10 अगर ये ओसिमेन का सिचुएशन नहीं होता तो.
10 on 10, wow.
Otherwise it's a solid 9 out of 10 here for me. Like I like अगर मार्केट स्टार्ट होने के पहले किसी ने मुझे बोला था कि ये प्लेयर्स नापोली में आएंगे एंड ये लाइक डी लॉरेंटिस इतना स्पेंड करेगा विदाउट सेलिंग विक्टर ओसिमेन, तो आई वुड हैव जस्ट लाफ्ड एंड लाफ्ड कि डी लॉरेंटिस
पॉर्टलैंड के साथ क्या कनेक्शन है तू बता योगेश.
ये तो अभी नया कनेक्शन बना है, अभी कल तो खाली प्लेयर्स को एक अच्छा ओपनिंग सेरेमनी सॉर्ट ऑफ एक दिया था.
हाँ, मैच के पहले क्या वेलकम था यार. I'll pull that up, योगेश, but as you can quickly see, नापोली ने ये बिजनेस किया. बुंजॉर्नो इन, मैकटोमिने इन, लुकाकू इन, डेविड नेरेस इन, गिलमोर, राफा मरीन और स्पिनत्जोला, ये इनके मेन साइनिंग्स है. पैसा उड़ाया जैसे योगेश ने बोला 149.5 मिलियन यूरोस एंड आउट ऑब्वियसली 7 मिलियन एट बेस्ट वाज द हाईएस्ट. ऑस्टिगार्ड जो ओसिमेन होना चाहिए था, ऑस्टिगार्ड है. येस्पर लिंडस्ट्रॉम लोन पे, कायुस्ते लोन पे, नटान ऑब्वियसली लोन पे अगेन, डिएगो डेमे गया फ्री पे, बाकी सब फ्री पे. ज़िलिंस्की इंटर ऑब्वियसली गया. अगेन एज यू कैन सी बहुत अनवांटेड वेजेस क्लियर किए, बट इनकम में ट्रांसफर फी वाइज दे ओनली गॉट 11.5 मिलियन यूरोस ऑब्वियसली, इसलिए बहुत खर्चा किया जो योगेश ने हमके साथ शेयर किया था. बट हाँ, सो योगेश, दिस इज गुड इनफ एज अ 9 on 10 फॉर यू से, राइट?
या डेफिनेटली.
एंड तुझे लगता है ये फर्स्ट सीजन के लिए ठीक है बिकॉज हर एक विंडो में सब कुछ तो हो नहीं सकता, राइट? बट गिवन दैट ऑब्वियसली इट्स अ थोड़ा मीडियम टर्म प्रोजेक्ट बोल सकता है तू, राइट? डू यू थिंक the business is fine for this season and तुम लोग चैंपियंस लीग में वापस आ सकते हो उसके साथ?
या डेफिनेटली, लाइक ये ट्रांसफर मार्केट के साथ में स्कूडेटो के लिए ट्राई करना चाहिए.
wow, that's good to hear. But yeah, Yogesh, any closing thoughts before we let you go?
I'm just sad यार कि Victor Osimhen situation has come to this. As a player, like I admire him a lot. Like काफी, I'm a huge Victor Osimhen fan, but like अब उसके वजह से एंड क्लब के वजह से we have come down to this situation, which is very heartbreaking to see. That's what I have to add.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question for Yogesh. बिली गिलमोर को कहाँ खिलाएगा कॉन्टे? मतलब ये
अजय भाई अटके. बट योगेश, टू आंसर दैट ऑन अ सीरियस नोट, क्या लगता है किधर कैसे खेलेगा, कितना टाइम मिलेगा उसको बिली गिलमोर?
थोड़ा ये 3 मैचेस में मैंने नोटिस किया कि अंगीसा और लोबोट का थोड़ा मैच नहीं हो रही है, काफी लाइट हो रहा है मिडफील्ड एंड काफी इजीली टीम्स आर एबल टू क्रॉस आवर मिडफील्ड एंड कम टू ये एरिया. तो वहां पे आई गेस मिडफील्ड को थोड़ा सॉलिडिफाई करना पड़ेगा. अंगीसा एंड लोबोटका आर वेरी like vital for this team, but they have played in a 3-man system for a very long time. तो अब ये 2-man मिडफील्ड में कैसे एडजस्ट करना है, वो मूवमेंट
को वो एक या थर्ड मैन प्रेजेंस मिस हो रहा है, इसलिए मैकटोमिने एंड गिलमोर आ सकते इंपॉर्टेंस.
Yeah, so that is
because Politano is not going to help them out. Let's be real. Politano कुछ नहीं करने वाला.
yeah. Politano is definitely like David Neres जैसे थोड़ा सा फिटनेस में आता है, starts understanding teams mechanics. Politano is definitely going on the bench.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Yogesh, thank you for giving your thoughts. यार, I know तुझे जाना है. Thank you for joining in, and I know कल entertaining win था, जैसे तूने बोला पार्मा was.
ये कमेंट में मैं बोलना चाहूंगा, लुकाकू को नंबर 11 लिया, 9 नहीं लिया.
11 लिया? I thought 9 देने वाले ना उसको अभी.
नहीं 11 लिया उसने. रोमानो, ये फैब्रिजियो रोमानो ने रिपोर्ट किया था कि 9 लिया, बट कल नंबर 11
कल तो 11 पे था.
Fraudizio exposed again. Thank you. You heard it here first. Thank you, Yogesh.
चैनल पे वो लगाना चाहिए, Fraudizio alert.
Fraudizio buzzer या Fraudizio alert. Yeah, every time he gets वो. Yeah, thank you, Yogesh. I'm so happy today when you exposed him again. Yeah, I'm so happy. तो भी खुश है. But sorry, ये Osimhen should sack his agent. Yeah, I think वो होने वाला है दीपो. I think it's pretty much happening. But yeah, Yogesh, thanks for joining in. Obviously, Napoli कल बहुत dramatic fashion में 2 late goals, Lukaku debut goal. I know you're very happy. And Parma was giving you a tough time, but thanks to Zion Suzuki, obviously Parma lost. But yeah, overall yesterday's game, just very briefly, very happy with the result, right? I know not the most beautiful game, not the
Definitely,
most.
yeah. Like जो second cooling period था second half का, तब तक नापोली was out of the game completely and लुकाकू को सब इन किया था. थोड़े movements में changes हुए थे, but as soon as जैसे ही वो red card हुआ, Zion
Zion Suzuki,
and
man.
उसका भी थोड़ा सा like ये था, like थोड़ा सा immature play था for both their coach Peccia as well.
Yeah.
कि 5 substitutions पहले ही कर लिया उसने.
हाँ,
And
Fabio Pecchia ने गलती किया.
And like उसे एक येलो कार्ड ऑलरेडी मिल चुका था like for time wasting. एंड ये सेकंड येलो कार्ड उससे मिला, तो थोड़ा सा नाइविटी उनके प्लेयर्स का ये हुआ था. That's why they lost the match. Otherwise, power play was a very good match.
आप सोचो that Lukaku shot a goal, regular goalkeeper would have saved it because it was hit directly at him since it was an outfield player.
पर अजय भाई यार, एनरिको डेल परातो गोलकीपिंग कर रहा है लेफ्ट बैक का. That's
Parma should have buried that game. 2-0.
Yeah, of course.
Credit to Napoli for coming back.
Yeah, of course. वो पॉपकॉर्न मोमेंट था जो हम रुके नापोली के लिए. वही कल का गेम बहुत मजा देख के. अगर आपने गेम मिस किया, GXR पे जाके हाइलाइट्स देखो, फुल मैच रिप्ले तो आ जाएगा आई थिंक 1-2 दिन में. बहुत अच्छा गेम था. बट योगेश, थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग इन यार. विल जस्ट कंटिन्यू द डिस्कशन, क्लोज द स्ट्रीम वेरी शॉर्टली. So thank you for coming on, Yogesh. But Ajay bhai, very briefly, your thoughts on Manu Kone, because what do you think he adds to Roma before he moves to other transfers?
Yeah, I think like also mentioned that he will bring a dynamism in the Roma midfield जो बहुत lacking है, because Paredes का जो role है under De Rossi, that is more of a regista, like a proper number 6.
Yes.
He will split the defense open. अगर 4-man backline है तो he'll be in the middle. Whereas ये जो एक number 8/10 का जो hybrid जो missing था, if I had to just make a very extreme hypothesis, after Nainggolan under Spalletti, I think एक जो profile of player जो missing था Roma में, you can finally see Manu Kone kind of fill that if through whatever little I've seen of him at Mönchengladbach. So he's got that quality for sure.
Yes.
How De Rossi utilizes him in the midfield is still a question mark. Remains to see कि क्या करेगा. But he checks all that points in his attributes box of that dynamic number 8. Someone who could really transform the Roma midfield. So on paper a very exciting signing, and having beaten so many clubs for his signature, this is a good coup for Roma. So really looking forward to kind of watch him and integrate, watch him get integrated into the first team.
Yeah. I think Costo, before we move on, just brief word. एक तो डेफिनेटली प्रेस रेजिस्टेंस बहुत ऐड करता है ये मिडफील्ड में विद दैट टेक्निकल एबिलिटी, गिवन दैट जैसा अजय ने क्रिस्टांटे है यार, थोड़ा प्रोग्रेसिव प्लेयर भी है, लव्स कैरिंग द बॉल. आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी गुड साइनिंग. But I think that was it on Manu Kone. Bikku will come to the comments very quickly. थोड़ा ले लेते हैं comments. Obviously थोड़ी देर से लिया नहीं, so I'll take some comments and quickly we'll wrap this stream up, guys. By just looking at transfer market पे सबका ins and outs very quickly, not discussing everything. And I'll just ask you guys your rating on every team's business. Okay, that's all we'll do to close.
And I think कुछ comments जो तूने star के comments we have to take those comments.
हाँ, वो भी ले रहा. Actually वही ले लेता हूँ. Please share your opinion on new UCL format very quickly. एक जन कोई बोलो यार. Kostub तू बता दे.
Open Kostub.
I think the draw was very weird, but the format is something I like. I mean, usme there will be a lot of randomness, but more than that, there will be a lot more of these subplots होते हैं जैसे European competitions में. And I think there is this possibility of a lot of these lower teams, so the lesser known teams playing against the better teams, which is what I like this sport for. So I think in both the cases I'm a fan. But the opening ceremony, that was too dead for me. That didn't have any meaning to me, especially because वो AIs के through draw हो रहा था. I get it, but seemed too vanilla to me.
I understand. थोड़ा ड्रॉ तो था ही अजीब. जो लाइव स्ट्रीम में हम जब कर रहे थे, I was super confused कि क्या चल रहा है मतलब. But obviously exactly. I do agree it has its positives. It's not bad. It's just annoying to see कि players have too much to play. Players ने already complained किया, rightfully so. Sure, आप बोल सकते हो for the money they earn, being part of the business, they are being in a privileged position. But still यार injuries बहुत होती है यार body को. You have to consider that as well.
Considering कि अभी वो भी है Club World Cup में भी अब extra matches खेलेंगे next year.
Parav, we finally get to see Arsenal Inter, the clash that we were waiting for.
अच्छा वही फर्स्ट चीज चिंतन में वही बोले कि जो ट्विटर पे बीफ चल रहा था, फाइनली मैच हो रहा है. एंड ऑनेस्टली मुझे आई तो नेवर अंडरस्टूड देयर बीफ बिकॉज मुझे पता था लास्ट सीजन दोनों टीम बहुत अच्छी है. अभी मैच हो रहा है, ऑब्वियसली एक ही लेग हो रहा है एट मियाजा, ऑब्वियसली हमारे होम स्टेडियम पे, बट ठीक है, मुझे तो बीफ कभी समझी नहीं, बट इट वाज फनी अजय, इट वाज वेरी फनी. Very quickly again to go through the rest of the comments and then close the stream with the predictions. So Shashrut, your comment I'm integrating with the predictions we do at the end. What is the biggest transfer, उसके साथ ही करता हूँ मैं. What is the biggest transfer for all top 6, ये भी उसी के साथ में integrate करता हूँ, इसलिए I think it's better to keep Shashrut's comments. But I think किधर रुके थे हम लोग? I think we stopped at Osimhen and we stopped here. Yeah, I found it. कोई तो बोला विक्टर अगर खेले रहे उसको पोछा मारो. I think उधर ही रुका था. Sorry. पीयूष,
that is racism, please.
No यार bro, तेरे को मार पड़ेगी उस कमेंट के लिए भाई. फ्रेतेजी नहीं ही इज अ क्रेजी विनर मारा था लास्ट सीजन, फिर पेनल्टी मिस हो गई थी अलेक्सिस बरेला ने काउंटर पे अगेंस्ट विच टीम. हाँ ये शिवम, बेसिकली योर पॉइंट बीइंग ही इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड ही इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट गोल स्कोरर. वो एक डायनामिक जो ऐड करता है, एक्सप्लोसिवनेस जो कोई और मिडफील्डर ऐड नहीं करता इस इंटर टीम में, समझा. मोहन बगान फैंस है तो बता दो, हम में से तो कोई नहीं है भाई. नॉर्थ ईस्ट फाइनली जीत गए भैया, कांग्रेट्स टू यू बिक्कू. हैप्पी फॉर द क्लब बिकॉज आई नो बहुत एफर्ट गया है जॉन इब्राहिम का उसमें. वांट वन ट्रॉफी इन द हाउस. व्हाई इटालियन टीम अजय भाई, वेरी क्विकली इफ यू वांट टू आंसर दिस.
So there are English roots to Genoa and Milan, and even I would say Roma to some extent, because the first coach of Roma was an Englishman. तो बहुत trading होता था because Genoa is one of the world's leading ports, which is why when the English came in, they brought in, along with culture, they brought in cricket. So it's Genoa Cricket and Football Club, Genoa CFC. Milan also have, they had a cricket team in the past. And these are the two cities where you found a lot of Englishmen. And hence there is the cricket element in their name. अब है नहीं, अब जो भी क्रिकेट खेलते हैं इटली में सारे इंडियंस, बांग्लादेशी, पाकिस्तानी खेलते हैं.
Interesting fact is, when football, or what we call calcio now, when the British first bought Italy, football to Italy, they were actually on the way to India. वो जो trade route था, that was in the middle of India. तो वो on the way to India Genoa आता था. So that's when they stopped. And वो ideas सारे वहाँ से गए, and that is how it's. I'm not saying India is the center of the world or anything, but हाँ, there is. If you read John Foot's book called Calcio, उसमें that's what I read. कि in the very first 2 pages it's written कि वो लोग इंडिया जाते थे, on the way they stopped in Italy, and वहाँ पे अपने ideas फैलाते थे.
And Genoa still is one of the most leading ports in the world even right now. It's one of the most. It is the gateway to Europe, you can say.
So ये यार अगर मैं जस्ट विकी पे देख रहा था, बिकॉज जैसे आपने बोला इंडियन नाम तो रह गई. देयर इज अ मनप्रीत एंड जसप्रीत एंड सुखविंदर सिंह इन द इटालियन क्रिकेट टीम. बट
कमिंग टू द एक्चुअली प्लेस फॉर इटली नाउ ना, जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया का लेफ्ट हैंड होता था.
I saw Boyos Capitano Futuro after Pellegrini. हाँ वो Samunli, of course, he's a Romanista, अगर किसी ने मिस किया, but yes, very good point Samunli. We're sad to see Jesse because he didn't seem happy. Obviously, he's happy for the Fiorentina move, but he was sad to leave Rome the way he had to. And अच्छा chance है कि he might not return there. Do you think Capo-Cannonier battle will eventually come down between Thula, pairing of Inter of Vlahovic and Dovbyk, give them a run for their money? देख लाउतारो ना मुझे पर्सनली थोड़ा थका हुआ लग रहा है, जो मैं बार-बार he worked his socks off against Atalanta, nothing against it, but I feel this season he's going to थोड़ा take a step back. He will have to. So even if he doesn't be in the top scorer charts ना, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, because मुझे पता है लाउतारो's work rate is more than important for anything to happen with this Inter. मतलब for the system, and even if he does that ना, मैं उससे भी खुश हूँ. मैं ये नहीं बोलना चाहता कि he should not score 10 तो मार लेगा, वो तो मैं confident हूँ. Obviously 10 is a too low an expectation. 15-16 I think he will score, but I'm not expecting him to repeat 24. चलो 20 भी पहुंच जाए, I think he can. Obviously he has the quality, but because he's so tired, I don't know about 24. Whereas Thuram, he's added that poacher element to his game. जो मैं बोल रहा था वो मुझे एकदम थोड़ा एड्रियानो मोल्ड वाइब्स दे रहा है. मतलब द काइंड ऑफ वे ही इज प्लेइंग, मुझे मोल्ड एड्रियानो की वाइब्स दे रहा है. मतलब एटलांटा के अगेंस्ट उसने जो 2 गोल मारे,
वेरी वेरी पोचर.
एग्जैक्टली, वो मतलब he held his own, he stuck his foot out. Yeah, exactly. So that is new to his game of sorts. So I think he'll be there. But I think Vlahovic, Dovbyk, I think Dovbyk settle हो जाएगा. Vlahovic definitely already दिखा रहा है कि he is in better form. So yeah, बिक्कू मानू कोने का इंजरी रिकॉर्ड इतना खराब नहीं है. उसके थोड़े मसल इंजरीज रहे हैं for Ajay bhai also. Like थोड़ा इधर उधर, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Now fingers crossed. Yeah, just fingers crossed कि he stays fit. Nothing else. लियोपुल कोने के इंजरी रिकॉर्ड की वजह से साइन नहीं किया था यार. इतना खराब है बिक्कू पर्सनली.
हाँ, इतना खराब नहीं है, but you know the problem with a lot of players who play against the press, they have to use their bum or hamstring a lot.
Yeah.
उसमें एक issue आता है कि you look at Ndombele as well, who's the classic case of a player who can play through the press. उसको भी injury proper, although he destroyed his own career, but Sanchez again, Renato Sanchez के case में भी यही था कि muscle injuries का risk काफी रहता है for players who can turn or break the press. So I think एक कंसर्न तो आई थिंक गोइंग फॉरवर्ड होगा फॉर श्योर रोमा के लिए.
Fair. थोड़े comments quickly लेके we'll close this with the last predictions and just show you all the transfers. Caicedo, Lavia and Kone were the options, but we couldn't sign any of them. हाँ, आप Liverpool fan, of course, I know frustration है यार. भाई Thuram to UA, Kefren Thuram obviously was our target. Yes, Kefren Thuram तुम लोग का target था. I remember very well. McTominay ने क्यों लिया? अरे, I think he's a good. Personally, I know Costo had some doubts over it, right? But I personally feel, I think वो डायनामिक जो कॉन्टे को चाहिए वो आ जाएगा उनके साथ.
हाँ, that is true.
Exactly. Do I think he'll be extraordinary? Time will tell. But I think he's a good signing for now as of today. वो लोग को डायनामिक चाहिए रे टू सॉलिड. Politano is not the answer, Aloo Biryani. That's all I'll tell you. Politano is not the answer.
I would have loved McTominay at Roma, man. What a guy to have.
Yeah, exactly.
That is actually true. He can score but can't pass. That is actually true. And he can't receive. But final third player है, Conte can use it. On the break.
इसीलिए उसको चाहिए वो. Exactly my point. It's a valid point. 2 red cards for time wasting yesterday. Rice and Suzuki. But Suzuki was not time wasting. He kicked. One was yellow card. Yes, Deepak, you're right. हाँ, but the kick was anyways a direct red. But yes, correct. Rice वाला तो बहुत funny था यार. उस पे कब कोई और दिन बात करेंगे. I'm loyal like Raheem Sterling. यूनाइटेड भी नहीं थी. अच्छा हाँ, ओके. जो बर्न्स इटली क्रिकेट टीम से शिवम, या ही सेज इट. भाई लोगों, आप सेरिया कब से फॉलो कर रहे हो? वेरी क्विकली, मैं मिड 2003, इवन दो आई वाज वेरी यंग, दैट्स व्हेन आई वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. Costo, what about you?
I don't know. I started covering Serie back in 2013 or something, 14, something like that.
Wow, interesting. Ajay, what about you?
2000 year, साल 2000, millennium.
Wow. Joe Burns plays for Italy. Yes, they're all answering that. Deepo also knows a lot about cricket. Imagine our football team will have Bastoni, Barella, Pellegrini.
Indian football के बारे में मत बात कर.
Imagine Bastoni and all coming to India, bro. कैसे भी बहुत funny situation बोले. Fonseca has lost the locker room. Ibra needs to stop being a poet and show some balls. Fonseca gain it back. Yeah. ये आज आदित्य सो हमारी रिव्यू स्ट्रीम पे चिंतन भाई से डेफिनेटली बात करेंगे. आज थोड़ा ट्रांसफर्स वाली है, बट यू हैव मेड अ गुड पॉइंट. लेट्स सी वेयर इट गोस. क्विकली नाउ गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू पुल अप द ट्रांसफर्स. वी विल रन थ्रू इट एंड थोड़ा इधर उधर बीच में डिस्कस करना है तो कर लेंगे इफ समथिंग कैचेस आवर आईज. एंड देन वी विल मूव ऑन. बिफोर वी गेट इन क्विकली, यार मैं एक चीज बताना चाहता हूँ. ऑब्वियसली शिवम, अगर आप चैट पे हो, बिकॉज ही watches a lot of South American football. Thiago Thomas, yeah, finally this is done, because ये मूव ऐसा लग रहा था कोलैप्स होने वाला है, because he was owned by Independiente, so he was owned by Talleres, who was and on loan to Independiente Rivadavia, and then वो deal हो नहीं रही थी because he was co-owned by 2 clubs and the Argentine FA was not giving it the green light basically. And ऐसा लग रहा था डेडलाइन डे के पहले ये मूव कोलैप्स होने वाली है, but luckily the Argentine FA gave the green light and the deal got done. So very important, he's going to be the backup to Bastoni.
पर मैंने मीम देखा था कि Thomas Palacios before signing for Inter वो बाहर है, मतलब it's Rodrigo Palacio.
Yes, वो मीम मुझे अगर आप ढूंढ सकते हो तो भेजो अजय भाई, very, because it's a very funny one. But yeah, he is signed on a long term deal. Very interesting profile. अगर किसी को idea नहीं है, very briefly I'll say he's like almost like a mold of Bastoni Romero types, Christian Romero. मतलब again मैं सिर्फ profile wise बोल रहा हूँ, गलती से quality मत समझ लेना. He has a long way to go. Mold wise, he's Bastoni Romero का mix. Still has a lot of things to work on. But I think it was an important signing क्योंकि team में gap थी. But quickly now, moving from that, transfer mark से
he's not a Leverkusen guy. He's not, वो नहीं है, वो अलग है.
वो एक्जेकियल पलासियोस है भाई, वो मिडफील्डर है, वो अलग है, वो एक्जेकियल पलासियोस है। बट क्विकली गाइस, इंटर का इन बिजनेस अगर आप देखो, बहुत लोन प्लस ऑब्लिगेशन डील्स ट्रिगर हुई थी। फ्रेतेजी की, जोसेफ मार्टिनेज नया साइनिंग, कार्लोस ऑगस्टो लोन ऑब्लिगेशन, अर्नाटोविच लोन ऑब्लिगेशन, टॉमस पलासियोस जैसे आप देख रहे हो, ज़िएलिंस्की, मेहदी तारेमी फ्री पे, कुराटोलो, कमाटियार, यूथ टीम प्लेयर्स हु गॉट लोन्ड आउट एनीवेज। आउट बिजनेस में अगर आप देखोगे, नो बिग प्लेयर लेफ्ट द टीम, दैट इज व्हाई द कोर इज देयर, एंड दैट इज व्हाई as Ajay bhai keeps saying the team is solid, everyone keeps saying that Agume Auristanio बहुत deadwood छोड़ा, one talented player left, Valentin Carboni obviously, that is one shame, but देखते हैं where his career goes depending on that. Other than that, Alexis Sanchez left, of course.
Simple है यार, Param, why fix something that is not broken? You know,
Exactly. I agree with you. कुछ फिक्स करने वैसे मतलब किसी को बेचने की जरूरत नहीं है. Nobody wants to leave, तो काहे को बेचे forcefully. Dumfries situation is in the air. He wants a release clause in his contract, and he might get it around 15 to 20 million, which is fine because उसको शायद जाना था ये summer Man United, obviously Costa will know, but it didn't happen obviously. So Sensi left for Monza. So yeah, that's Inter's business. The core remained. Some new incoming signings came in to solidify the bench. Strong team. AC Milan अजय भाई देख सकते हो, यूसुफ फोफाना फैंटास्टिक, राइट? Pavlovic is carrying this team. कल भी Pavlovic was everywhere. He scored against Lazio as well. Ajay bhai, this guy, talk of the town, right? Over the last.
it is a competition who's worse, Calabria or Emerson Royal.
Yeah, literally. मतलब Ajay bhai, do you think Milan, मतलब how can one club manage to do this? यार already Calabria की problem थी, उसमें तुमने problem add कर दिया instead of fixing it, right? For 18 million, including bonuses, by the way, right?
So
yeah. And that is probably one of the best deals outgoings Tottenham have done in quite a while. Kane could take it because Kane was like, Kane is Kane. But receiving that amount of money for a player who is barely even functional is actually incredible business. Serie में होता तो वो less than 5 million वाला होता.
Yes. And जैसे तूने बोला, for example, you are absolutely right. I can't big up Emerson Royal, पर बाकी का बिजनेस तो भी ठीक है. अलवारो मोरा तो obviously यूरो विनिंग कैप्टन जो अभी इंजर्ड है फिलहाल, obviously इसलिए टैमी इब्राहिम को भी लिया. टैमी इब्राहिम, speaking of him, अजय, good business because I changed my mind because I think वो verticality और एक physicality to win aerial duels like, और कल हमने देखा he assisted Leao for the equalizer right away when they were losing to Lazio. So you think this transfer is good enough for Milan, no Ajay bhai?
Yeah, बस परमानेंट करना चाहिए था. लोन डील हुआ अनफॉर्चुनेटली, बट परमानेंट ट्रांसफर होता मजा आता था.
पैसा मिल जाता पैसा. बाकी एलेक्स हिमेनेज ऑब्वियसली उन्होंने रियल मैड्रिड से लिया था, उसको प्रमोट करके बैकअप लेफ्ट बैक. ही इज अ गुड टैलेंट. लेट्स सी हाउ मच ही प्लेज. बाकी सब अगेन यूथ टीम में चार्ल डे केटलारा गया, सॉरी, राडी क्रूनेच ऑब्वियसली उधर से थोड़ा पैसा. पियर कलुलू, which Milan fans are shocked because उसके लिए लोन ऑप्शन का है and they wanted money and rival पे गया obviously. बाकी Adli went to Fiorentina, which will come to Giroud left. अब जाते हो डैनियल माल्डिनी मोन्जा गया, सालेमैकर्स रोमा गया, विल कम टू दैट. बट अदर देन दैट, डेविस वास्केज एम्पोली का गोलकीपर, नॉट डिवोक ओरिगी एंड बालोटुरी आर विद मिलान अंडर 23. उनकी मिलान फ्यूचर
ओसिमेन ट्रीटमेंट,
ओसिमेन ट्रीटमेंट, बट एटलीस्ट अंडर 23 आई गेस यू कैन से इज बेटर देन अंडर 19 थियोरेटिकली. यूवेंटस जिसके बारे में सबसे ज्यादा चर्चा चल रही है ऑब्वियसली, कॉस्टो फैंटास्टिक बिजनेस, कूप माइनर्स, डगलस लुइस, केफरेन थुराम, हुआन कबाल, निको गोंजालेस, चिको कॉन्सेसाओ जो सर्जियो का बेटा है, Michele Di Gregorio, funnily enough, who grew up as an Inter fan, and UF fans when they found out his social media, they were losing it कि भाई ये इंटर को क्यों फॉलो कर रहा है. बट ऑब्वियसली दैट इज गोइंग टू चेंज. पियर कलुलू, सबोना प्रमोट किया, नेक्स्ट जेन टीम से स्कोर्ड ऑन हिज डेब्यू. एम्बांगुला प्रमोट किया, स्कोर्ड ऑन हिज डेब्यू. वेरी गुड बिजनेस. कॉस्ट वेरी ब्रीफली if you wanted to say a word or two on it.
Yeah, I think they've fixed their squad, and more than that, they've made it a very younger squad. And सारे players suit करते हैं what Thiago Motta wants from his team. But more than that, I think last time जब इनका दो बार जो so called transition की बात हुई थी, Sarri and then Pirlo came in, तब their old guards were very much there. इस बार it's a proper transition because the old guards have actually left. Allegri के जितने भी faithful लोग थे, Destilio, Szczesny, ये सब लोग चले गए, and it's a very younger core, which is what Thiago Motta had at Bologna. I'm not saying he will overperform on expectations as much as he did at Bologna, but there is a very strong core there now, which is young and suits what Motta wants.
Yes, absolutely. Very quickly, sorry, Inter का window I would rate a 7 on 10 because I still feel Arnautovic को तुम हटा सकते थे. सेंट्रल सेंटर बैक के लिए पैसा नहीं था तो ठीक है, आई अंडरस्टैंड इट, बट स्टिल वुड हैव लव्ड एन अपग्रेड एटलीस्ट, मे बी इफ डेवराय कुड हैव लेफ्ट, क्योंकि अचर भी फिर भी ठीक खेल रहा है, सो आई स्टिल थोड़ा बी कॉशियस एंड गिव इट 7 on 10. अजय भाई, क्विकली इफ यू वांटेड टू रेट मिलान's window on 10. 6. Fair enough. I guess Milan fans would agree with you. Costo, UA का window considering what you just said plus the outgoings, जैसे आप देख सकते हो पैसा बैलेंस आउट किया obviously, because ऐसा नहीं कि उड़ाया, obviously still financially, जब मैं बार-बार बोलता हूँ UA को रिकवरी करना, Costo will also know this, financially they have a long way to go, but उन्होंने स्टार्ट अच्छा किया because salary 60 million काट दी उन्होंने, सूले हटाया, हॉइजन हटाया, इलिंग जूनियर हटाया, कीन, फेडेरिको केजा, बारे ने किया, कोरी डे विंटर, सब बहुत प्लेयर्स हटाए, सो ओवरऑल बिजनेस कितना रेट करेगा कॉस्टो ऑन 10? आप लोग भी कमेंट्स में रेट करो बाय द वे.
I would say 9. I'm taking a mark off because उसमें से Dean Huijsen, you talk of Sule, these are players who can, I'm not saying बेचने नहीं चाहिए थे, but maybe 5 years down the line UA fans will look at those players and maybe wonder that there was a point where we had them and we just had to move them on, something like that. So that's why I'll say 9. Otherwise it's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. And आप लोग भी इंटर AC मिलान UA के रेटिंग्स दे दो कमेंट्स पे. राहुल सिंह बाती से 8.5 I assume for UA. Also रविंद्र ने जो बोला, don't forget that point. They are working to cut costs, but this is कैसा है ना, almost like a high risk approach because they will need it to work on the pitch. But regardless, it's fantastic business because already cost बहुत कम किए और वो कम होते जाएगा. They are not going to take more risks beyond this. 60 million salary काटना बहुत बड़ी बात है. So 9 is, I would also personally give it a 9. Ajay bhai, do you agree with 9?
Same. Yeah. Coop Miners was the coup of the summer for them.
Yeah, nice play on.
More than incomings, ना, इनका problem was outgoing. I always thought कि ये लोग, the PR brief to the media and to us is that there is going to be a major change at the club, which never came under those two so-called modern day managers. But अब वो है, and I won't say कि Mota has no excuses to make, but हाँ, there is a very solid foundation to make sure that the transition takes place.
Yeah, fair. We'll quickly
also,
go through the...
Also, Juve signed Giacomo Faticanti and Afena Jan, who were Roma
Afena Jan for the under 23. कितना strange. वही हुआ, I found it a bit strange कि साला Afena Jan घूम के under 23. Yeah.
Watch out for Faticanti at least.
Yeah, Faticanti. Yes, correct. अटलांटा का क्विकली यार, अगेन बहुत अच्छा साइनिंग वाइज है. आप लोग रेटिंग दे रहे हो, क्लब का नाम बाजू में स्पेसिफाई कर लो यार, बिकॉज इज इट 8 फॉर यूए और इंटर? अगेन दैट कैन गेट अ बिट कंफ्यूजिंग. अटलांटा का अगेन ऑन पेपर जब वेरी गुड बिजनेस ऑब्वियसली रहते कि डेकेट लारा, राहुल बेलेनोवा, गॉडफ्रे डिसेंट टू कवर, आई गेस नॉट ग्रेट बट डिसेंट इनफ. इब्राहिम सुलेमाना, जनियोलो, ब्रेशियानी,
such a superb signing, I think.
Exactly.
Very underrated.
Rui Patricio, Ajay bhai, he was going to end up at Monza, but he's
depth के लिए बस और कुछ नहीं.
Yeah, Cuadrado is back. Lazar Samardzic is there. Out obviously. Coop Miners last literally एक दिन के पहले बेचा, closing Okoli बेचा, Mirancho Cambiaghi, Duvan Zapata का loan obligation.
And Okoli gets an Italy call up right away.
Yes, right away. Spalletti, वो तो अगले stream में बोलेंगे यार, but Spalletti का bias towards players playing abroad is unreal. I'm sorry. This guy is starting making me question his selections, which we'll get to next time around. But El Bilal Toure, Juan Musso गया obviously Atletico Madrid, तो बाकर भी गया. चलो, so overall, but the problem is Gasperini is very unhappy. वो इंटर के लॉस के बारे में बोला कि इतने प्लेयर्स हमने बदले, these players have not adapted, थोड़ा लेट हो गया. He's not, उसने Zaniolo पे publicly he called out, he said Zaniolo has a problem. So the mood
and
is not great.
And situation is very weird because the local outlets are saying that he could have been sold once again. Could have been loaned out on deadline day because he can't settle into the Gasperini style. He's very
So I would rate this personally. We'll individually rate going ahead क्योंकि सब rating करते बैठेंगे तो बहुत time जाएगा. But I would rate this a 7. इसका वजह से मैं इंटर को शायद 7.5 दे दूं because if I'm rating Atalanta 7, and it's not about the names only. I think the signings are very good. My problem is what is going on at the club. If let's say if they manage to settle in, मैं बढ़ा दूंगा, but I'm only cutting points because of the adaptation issues, not because of the names. Because I feel the players they've signed are very good. Because of what is going on, I'm cutting the marks. But bolo nahi Ajay bhai. Dalinga, Cambiaghi home, Erlich, not the best replacement for Calafiori. Benja Dominguez, young player, Remo Freuler, Casale of Lazio signed. Juan Miranda, अच्छा game था. He I feel is a good signing. Ealing Junior Aston Villa से ले लिया loan पे. Outgoings Ajay bhai, my God, Calafiori, Zirkzee obviously are not always loan obligation. पर यार overall on the balance of things, given how the season is going so far, they're still adapting under Italiano. क्या लग रहा है इसके बारे में? Rating, how much would you give it?
I would give it 5.5 or top 6. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. Not again, not the I would say ideal like for like replacement. And I really feel, I personally, Italiano का systems थोड़ा flawed है. They're going to struggle in the Champions League, man. I mean, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
5.5 or 6.
Yeah, fair enough. AS Roma मैं आपसे ही पूछता हूँ, बाकी दो clubs next to I'll ask Kostum. AS Roma क्या rate करोगे अजय भाई आप, given obviously the business is right here? Are you happy? And yeah, given that Hermoso
7 on 10. 7 on 10.
Not 7.5.
Yeah, 7 on 10 primarily because वो एक center back situation is still unresolved. Otherwise,
पर अगर let's say अगर आप पकड़ के चलो Hummels और Hermoso दोनों आते, would you bump it up or still 7?
Would bump it up to 7.5 for sure.
Fair enough.
But once again, a lot of changes because De Rossi is starting a new cycle. Last year, obviously, he had players that Mourinho and Pinto had got it. So his style, his ideas, it will take time. Dobbik and Sole, obviously, ये दो signings हैं जो बहुत excited हो. Good to see Roma making moves in the market. Manu Kone also. And I personally love Alexis Salamakers. I really feel that he had a good own season at Bologna last year. तो अगर De Rossi वो वाला Salamakers का version लेके आ सकते हैं रोमा में, तो बहुत एक versatile player आपको मिल जाएगा. Otherwise, looking forward to Saud Abdul Hamid. He might start today against Juve.
मेरा prediction है कि
and virus cast off has been removed. So
मेरा prediction है कि Saud Abdul Hamid शायद अच्छा कर ले. To what Shashwat had said, prediction मुझे लग रहा है, because I really rate him from watching him in Asia and I feel he's good. I just hope कि language wise and everything he adapts, because obviously English उसकी इतनी खास नहीं है. From what I know from people I spoke to in Asian football, I just hope he finds the environment to adapt, उसको welcome feel कराओ and he'll deliver is all my point basically. But I think Ajay bhai rated it 7.5. Lazio very quickly Kosto क्या लग रहा है, because सब Lazio वाली थोड़ा upset है कि ये थोड़ा अलग approach use किया है. Some are confused, some are happy. But what do you make of this?
Rating wise, I would give it a decent 6.5 to 7 because I see the vision basically. It's not random like Fiorentina कि ये अपना experienced player sign कर लिया, randomly you sign Pongracic and then on deadline day you, although चाहिए था Adli वगैरह sign कर लिया, but यहाँ पे you can see that they sort of have a plan in place, although I think they probably needed to fix maybe the midfield because I think एक sort of जो एक trump card सा signing होता है जो midfield में चाहिए होता है, although Delebashiru has done well. But I think squad में थोड़े से holes अभी भी हैं. But I think अब एक vision है. I see that there is something taking place which can help them in the longer term. And which is sort of, I think जब हम transfers का वो लंबा 3 घंटे का stream कर रहे थे, तो हमने Lazio की जब बात कर रही थी तो हमने ये बोला था कि they're trying to be like Leverkusen, Atlanta, clubs like that. So if you consider that, maybe a good start. So I would give them a solid 6.5 to 7.
Yeah, I agree with you. Outgoings heavy थे, but incomings में obviously नया approach है, but थोड़ा कुछ तो lacking लग रहा है. Relying on like Rovella for an entire season, आपको पता है वो injury prone है. तो देखते हैं, but 6.5 agree. Fiorentina, Kostu, very quickly if you have to rate this, जैसे तो बोला confusing business. Obviously Goodmanson है, but उसका जो अक्टूबर में होगा देखते क्या होता है. Amir Richardson is a decent signing. But Keane, De Gea, देखते how that goes. Gozens who's not the same anymore. ठीक है, outgoings Amrabat, Nikolovic, Milenkovic निकाला. I feel they had to cut costs obviously. But overall कितना rating देगा इसको? Just rating ही दे दे सीधा.
I think 6.5 and वो 6 होता if not for वो last दो midfield signings, Bove and Adli, because that midfield was too light. I think they only had 3 midfield options. Amrabat, who was obviously going to leave, Richardson आ गया था and Mandagora. So they had 3 midfield options. Amrabat gaya and they got 2. So they now have 4 midfield options for a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 max wala system. So I think one thing they've done well is that they've replaced Bonaventura with, I think Richardson thoda replace kar sakta hai usse. But I think too random. And that backline never convinces me. De Gea.
हाँ वो लोग हर गोल में गोल खाते हैं. Sorry, हर गेम में गोल खाते हैं वो लोग.
And De Gea, like, he did well. And obviously उसकी बात करी है. He did well in the previous Conference League qualification game. But he has these games where you can drive the narratives through how he still got it.
Yeah.
But then the very next game, you'll have a completely different
He'll have a
perspective.
blunder. Yeah, but yeah,
So
I think
he's
Torino
been like that for the last 3 seasons, 4 seasons.
Yeah,
So
fair है.
6.5.
टोरिनो ऑब्वियसली टोरिनो का इशू एक है अजय भाई, और मैं वही जानते कि प्रोटेस्ट चल रहे थे. द रिप्लेसमेंट्स आर नॉट ऑल गुड इन कंपैरिजन टू व्हाट इज लॉस्ट. साउल कोको फैंटास्टिक साइनिंग, ही इज बीन डूइंग एक्सट्रीमली मैन ऑफ द मैच परफॉर्मेंसेस. वन जापाटा लोन ऑब्लिगेशन ट्रिगर करना अच्छा है. वालुकिविच आई थिंक improve हो सकता है, but not the name. They spent 9 million including bonuses. By the way, 5 दिखा रहा है, but 9 million है bonuses पकड़ के. And to him, identify him as the Buongiorno replacement, I don't think is the idea. Maripan also ठीक है, sort of to somewhat replace Rodriguez, even though he's not left-footed. Pedersen to replace Belanova again. Pedersen is talented, but outgoings obviously heavy names are Buongiorno, Belanova. So I would rate this 6.5, given that not even 6.5, 6.45 ठीक है चलो, because the Torino fans are pissed off and rightly so. And Vanoli is the Vanoli के signing के लिए मैं शायद 6.5 or 0.5 दे रहा हूँ. He's a top
Makes
coach.
sense.
Yeah, and Shivam has said right, Vanoli so is a good coach. So Napoli Yogesh rated, so we are not going over Napoli again. Very quickly Ajay भाई, Genoa को अगर आपको rating देनी होगी सिर्फ, because again they had to sell. Their owners are not good obviously, so they had to sell heavily but buy light. And in that context, Vitinha, Coney De Winter, Thorsby, Brook Norton, Coffee,
Pinamonti, man.
So बचाया उसने Monza के against.
I'm excited to see Fabio Miretti though. I quite rate
Miretti. क्या लगता है पर आपको अगर इसको रेटिंग देना होगा? देखो heavy outgoing
7 or 10 I think.
7?
Yeah,
Wow.
because they had to sell. So they lost Retegi, quite suddenly because Kamaka के ACL आया. And Pinamonti, although it has not worked out for him ever, I think under Gilardino he can at least get them those clutch goals, which keeps them. I think for them their goal is survival. To be very honest with you. So अगर के हिसाब से देखें तो ठीक ही है. Not the most fanciest names. They've lost Goodmanson also in one window. Goodmanson and Retegi. So काफी heavy blows, but it's not under their control. The loss of players, which is why I give it high rating.
That's a fair point. I really wish this was the season they could have built on. Not to say they can't, because Gilardino अच्छा coach है, but वो signing से inspiration आ रही नहीं because of the ownership situation, as you said. Monza, I'll personally say not inspiring a market because obviously वो लोग investors ढूंढ रहे थे, अभी तक हुआ नहीं है, और obviously limited budget. आप देख सकते हो Kyriakopoulos cannot be your highest paid मतलब bought player यार. Maldini चलो अच्छा लाया, Stefano Sensi इंजरी फ्री रहा तो अच्छा है. बियाम को उठाया फियोरेंटीना से, ठीक टैलेंट है, if he breaks through. Pizziniaco is a decent goalkeeper talent, but other than that, outgoings are too heavy again. Jose Markin lose karna at this point, I don't think is a good idea. So I would give their Mercato probably like a, considering the context also, जैसे आप बोलते हो अजय, but still I would give it a 5 because मुझे लग रहा है Monza might get relegated. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है. अब सबकी फेवरेट क्लब कॉस्ट तो सिर्फ रेटिंग दिया, अभी एक्सप्लेनेशन वी हैव टू क्लोज द स्ट्रीम एज वेल. हेलास वेरोना, सुआद सरदार ठीक है, चाचा हुआ ठीक, साइनिंग्स ये लोग कर लेते हैं. मॉस्केरा, they always find these unknown players which either work out or don't work out. Obviously अपन जानते हैं. Juan Cabal, Noslin बेचा, obviously बड़े outgoings, but कितना रेटिंग देना होगा considering the financial situation? Owner jail वेल में not too long ago. What would you rate this?
I think considering the context and the way they started the season, जो Chua and Mosquera, ये सब जो एक काफी अच्छा मेरे को first 2 games में लगा. I think I would give them a decent 6 considering the context and everything. Which
6.
I'm again expectation से अगर हम वे करें कि what are they even aiming for, gives them a decent sort of chance. Whether they stay up or not, वो तो देखेंगे, but gives them like a decent chance. And जैसा Verona का background रहा है, when they lose players but somehow end up signing these players from random areas of the world which actually work out.
Somehow
and they
it
get
does.
sold on for a good fee. वो I think वो फिर से हो सकता है with Chachua और a lot of players.
Yeah. Although the performance against Juve दिखाया कि obviously there are gaping holes. But let's move on. Sir, that's a fair rating. Lecce हमेशा मेरे लिए signings अच्छा करती है. It's just about working out on the pitch because नाम अच्छे हैं. Lasana Koulibaly, Kialonda, Gaspar. कल they beat Cagliari with 10 men they won. So there is potential to do well. It's just that the start was bad. Unlucky to play Atalanta and Inter to begin with. देखते Rebic sign किया. Chintan bhai is very happy. Chintan bhai told us
Rebic wearing number 3 यार, end this woke
yeah,
nonsense.
Rebic wearing 3. Yes, that is football. Football has changed, Ajay bhai. But Chintan bhai is going to support Lecce because of Lecce. Yeah. Chintan bhai is going to support Lecce because of Rebic, he told us. Outgoings obviously थोड़े heavy है, but still Jondre को lose करना right before the market was a bit heavy, but still I would rate this a 6.5. अजय भाई Udinese very quickly ठीक साइनिंग्स किए आई वुड से, मतलब जो लग रहा था उससे तो बेटर ही दिख रहा है. मतलब लुका है, एकेलिन कैंप है, Alexis Sanchez आ गया वापस obviously, the leader at Udinese as they say, Jesper Karlström, but outgoings heavy. Nehuén Perez, Wallace गया, Mazina गया, obviously Isaac Toure और Arta को last day पे साइन किया, but overall how much would you rate this year?
6 on 10, man. I mean, Udinese are Udinese. They will always be Udinese.
Yeah. True. That's fair. Yeah. Cagliari, very quickly, if I had to rate, again, I feel ठीक business किया है. मतलब, I feel they'll be all right, but then they're losing to a 10-man Lecce raises concerns. It's not a great piece of business. Squad ठीक है, I feel survive कर लेंगे, but still have some question marks. I would say एक दो अच्छे signing pick करने हो तो है ठीक है चलो. I think Gaetano will be fine. He'll get more playing time, but other than that, Empoli मुझे लग रहा है is going to shock all of us and do something unexpected. Because हम लोग इन पे बहुत easily sleep किया Kostub and Anjorin.
कल रात हम chat पे I think discuss भी कर रहे थे कि उनका setup काफी अच्छा लगा था. Yeah, Esposito, Colombo, Solbakken. Ajay bhai has memories of Solbakken, Decilio. But I feel they'll be fine. Outgoings heavy है, but मुझे लग रहा है because of Daversa being the coach, उसको जो players चाहिए थे मिले थे. He's a controversial person obviously, but I feel they'll survive कैसे तो. This Kostub, and Ajay bhai biggest talking point because fantastic business. One of the winners of the transfer market for me. Highly rated Mandela Keita Belgian Pro League में जो बहुत अच्छा सीजन था उसको साइन किया. Zion Suzuki ठीक है, he's a raw keeper but still talent है which you can work with. Giovanni Leoni, Inter wanted him very badly this window as a future prospect. बहुत highly rated center back है, उसको उठा लिया. Then Cancellieri का career, Pontus Amquist very talented from Lecce. Kowalski जो कल खेला नापोली के against बहुत अच्छा खेला. Outgoings भी इतने कोई बड़े नहीं है, so and the squad is very good यार. How much would you rate this Ajay bhai and Kostub? Because I want everyone to give a rating for this because I'm really high on Parma because of this. I would personally rate it a 9 on 10. 7.5 for Ajay. 8, okay, fair. Bump it up to 8, okay. 8 for me.
8. मैं 9 दूंगा because I'm really impressed because जो last time हमने Parma देखी थी Serie में, it's way better than this.
So I'm giving it a 9. Actually want, I think जब हम transfers वाला कर रहे थे तब I mentioned the same. I actually want Cancellieri to take off. He's the sort of profile I liked early on. But if he takes off, he's going to be like that player who can play center forward or out wide. और वो जैसा we've seen the system that is taking shape, quick passing, quick movements, वो उसको बहुत suit करेगा.
Yeah, fair enough. 9 and 8 and 8.
Not to forget, he was very good as Walt White Jr. in Breaking Bad.
Como very quickly अजय भाई, थोड़ा obviously अभी बात करिए वरान का, हम लोग वही डिस्कस कर रहे थे शायद कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टर्मिनेट कर दे ये लोग with the whole injury saga. But how much would you rate this? Engelhardt, Dosera, mixed bag लग रहा है थोड़ा मुझे. कितना आप रेट करोगे? Belotti, Adrian Separao, 6 on 10, 6.5 on 10. Question marks है obviously to salvage. To salvage they signed some players, but उसके अलावा there are a few question marks. I mean, why would you?
I honestly think that they will survive because you have teams who are literally bad like a Venezia, who look very desperate to go back to Serie B. So I will be safe, but the ambitions are to get them into a European place. ये साल difficult लगता है. ये साल तो नहीं. 6 on 10, 6.5 on 10.
The signings I really like for Como is Ali Jassim. I hope he gets time. Fabregas, please, if you're watching this, stop playing Cutrone and this guy.
मैं वही बोलने वाला था.
वो लोग प्रेस नहीं करने वाले. Ali Jassim कर लेगा भाई, उसको खेला, वो talented है. Please play him if you're watching this. I know it's about settling in. Sergi Roberto, I feel to close the market was a decent signing and everything. Outgoings भी ठीक है. So I guess 6 is a fair rating. Ajay bhai, you mentioned Venezia Kostub. Again, Gaetano is starting to मतलब they signed Franco Carboni from Inter on loan, nothing special. Tanner Tesman गया, मतलब obviously उसके issues थे, he was causing problems. boost squad ठीक है, मतलब it's not great, lost
But
players, but the
manager.
coach, manager as part of the transfer is the problem. And their showing against Torino at home was good. I watched that game. They
Yeah.
played well,
Yeah.
but where the situation is, जब आप कोच ही ऐसा हायर करते हो, with all due respect, I think वो उसके साथ आपको bad luck chase कर लेती है, and Torino won it at the death. But you Costa, to quickly close this off, यार क्या rating देगा इसको यार?
4.
I'm not too happy.
वो relegate होने वाले हैं. I'll give them a 4.
4. Okay, my bad. 4. Lowest rating Venezia. You saw it here, heard it here on the podcast. Highest rating Parma.
Venezia and Monza, to be honest. Like,
Yes.
They're the biggest winners in this transfer market.
Yeah, of course. So I think ratings close कर लेते हैं. I'll just take a last few comments and close this stream, guys. I know थोड़ा ये again लंबा चल गया as usual. We plan for some.
Chelsea Palace है, Newcastle Spurs है 6 बजे को.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Chelsea have, by the way, handed a new contract to Nicholas Jackson. One day after they failed to sign Osimhen.
यार ये लोग को
Till to 2033, by the way, not even 29 or something. 2033. पूरे जन्म वो वहीं पे रहेगा.
In fact, I was a bit disappointed that Billy Gnotto signed a new contract with Leeds.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's been trying to leave. Yes, that's a very good point, Ajay bhai. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, very disappointed because
championship में starter, he deserves to be playing.
Yeah, come to Italy. Yeah, मैं ये
And he handed a transfer request which
he did.
wasn't accepted. उसे training नहीं करने दे रहे. I don't know what drama happened there.
He's also, it comes across like a Moiskin type of character. मुझे drama queen है वो थोड़ा, because I know he's an Interista born and brought up, but I know he's not ready to play for us. But यार अगर तू आ सकते तो आ सकता है इटली वापस. There are decent clubs to take you in and improve you. Nothing against Leeds, by the way, but you wanted to leave not that long ago. जैसे अजय भाई ने बोला, you were causing all drama. So Inter in this transfer window signed a lot of youngsters. Majority is under 20 team के लिए, under 20 and under 18 mix. So that's a good point. Yes, I would actually bump up Inter's market to 8, considering कि हमने core retain किया. 7.5 अभी कम लग रहा है मुझे. Top work, guys. Keep it going. Thank you, Shivam. Please subscribe, spread the word. Loving the content. I think we're trying to balance between Inzaghi's policy of older but proven and tested players and younger profiles. Yes, that is the case. That is the hope. But उसके under 23 team चालू करने पड़ेगी picture. वो नहीं हुआ तो I see a lot of this under 19 talent getting lost. Thoughts on Torino and Vanoli? Very quickly, I'll say we all love Vanoli on the panel. Torino का owner गद्दा है. Their fans were protesting against them. I really wish they could have signed a few better players, but Vanoli है वो कर लेगा कुछ तो. He's Conte he's Conte, and he's already throwing not tantrums, but he's calling out the ownership in press conferences. So yeah, he is not going to hold back. So I hope January में कुछ business कर ले अगर कर सके तो. Conte's Napoli looks. देखते R9. It doesn't look great so far, but they got the job done. I am of the belief of Ezequiel Palacios would be a good Hakan replacement. पैसा रहेगा तो why not? पैसा रहेगा तो देखते हैं future में. Scotty to Hotty, big Scott McTominay fans. 8.5 for Inter. I think that was 8 for Inter, says Shivam. Roma 8 to 9, says Nikhil Pratap. You can't switch everyone in one window. That's fair. Shit as always. I think that was Lazio. I think because I saw the comment around time. That's a bit of a stretch. I feel shit.
Presumption. Lazio ही होगा.
But guys, I think ये stream थोड़ी obviously intended थी Osimhen के discussion की वजह से
ये नहीं लिया.
Sorry. Biggest transfer of all by Inter, I would say Mehdi Taremi. I love Mehdi Taremi. The thing is, अभी के लिए because of my bias. Now I hope he settles in. He is working his ass off. Assist भी मिला debut में. I'm just hoping it works off because the guy is very nice, very down to earth, very humble. And I love the guy. Asian football में देख के and what I've followed. So I hope he works out. My hope is he becomes the top transfer. Other than that, Zielinski खेला ही नहीं है ना अभी तक competitive games. So, आएगा. So maybe देखो जोसेफ मार्टिनेज को भी मैं रेट नहीं कर सकता. That's the problem. मैं रेट टेक्निकली किसको कर ही नहीं सकता. मेहदी तरेमी ही बोलना पड़ेगा मुझे. Out of bias. Fingers crossed. Works out. Costo, your opinion very quick. Sorry for AC Milan तू बोल दे चल Costo.
I don't know. Milan, I would say Pavlovic, obviously for जितना हमने देखा है, but the way their season is going and जैसा मेरे को लग रहा है जैसा season होगा, he would stand out as a character more than a player as well. So I think वो एक signing होगी which puts them in good stead for the backline for the next 2-3 years as well.
Fair enough. Ajay भाई, आपका Juventus, not आपका but just Juventus, sorry.
Cup minors, man. Cup minors for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Cup minors. Next year अपना 4th Atalanta में last year के table के हिसाब से जा रहा हूँ. Atalanta कौन बोलेगा कॉस्ट तू?
I would say Atlanta के लिए Kosun.
Kosuno. Let's see how it was. बहुत talented है, उसको Leverkusen में time मिला नहीं, that's why he left. Yes.
And he can play in a higher defensive line.
Yeah.
Covers wide spaces. और वो title जीत का है obviously. So what a signing that is. मतलब काफी लोगों ने generally उसकी बात नहीं करी है, which I found to be weird because वो Atlanta का एकदम से dash आया था. They signed 3-4 players in 3 days. तो वो थोड़ा under the radar चला गया था.
True. I agree. Bologna, I would say मेरे लिए डार्लिंग होना चाहिए, बट व्हाट द हेल इज इटालियन. आई लुक कास्ट्रो बहुत टैलेंटेड बच्चा है, ठीक है, पर कल मैं जब गेम देख रहा था ना जब एम्पोली के अगेंस्ट, दे वर मिसिंग समवन हु कुड हिट द बॉल, एरियल प्रेजेंस. जो ये डार्लिंग को सबी नहीं कर रहा था. दैट्स इटालियनो फॉर यू.
दैट्स इटालियनो. कैसा
या पर आई वुड से जुआन मिरांडा इज लुकिंग गुड. वो बहुत अच्छा खेला कल. मैं आई वुड पुट माय मनी ऑन जुआन मिरांडा फॉर बोलोनिया एंड आई एम ओनली सेइंग टॉप 6 बेस्ड ऑन द स्टैंडिंग. शाश्रुत, to your point, because other than that, if you have any other top 6, please let us know. Ajay bhai, AS Roma अब पे ही आते हैं. क्या
Matthias Sule, man. I mean, what a signing to have. One of the youngest, brightest prospects of Italian football, and to get him at this stage is definitely not very Roma-like. So love it.
Definitely. Sule, right? Sule, because Sule तो I think I just hope वो settle in थोड़ा और हो जाए. I know time तो देना पड़ता है, but yeah, he was so good. And did I miss any other team? इसने 6 teams बोला, right? So if I'm going by the table,
6.
Sorry,
okay.
6. Yeah, 6. नहीं 6 हो गया actually. Inter, Milan, UA, Atalanta, Bologna, Roma. What am I doing? But yeah, I think that was it, guys. I think सब comments ले लिए हैं हमने. अगर आपके पास कोई comments और दिख नहीं रहे, Emerson Royal is the worst. Is the perfect way to close the show for Milan fans. I know they're extremely upset. But any closing thoughts? Kostu bhai, Ajay bhai, any closing thoughts?
No, nothing so far. Just hope that Man United beat Liverpool today.
पट्टी पड़ी है कि यूए 3-4 नहीं मारे रोमा गए इस बस, और कुछ नहीं.
हाँ, prediction उसके लिए very quick prediction, guys. I think UA wins. I don't know the scoreline, but UA wins. Ajay bhai, yeah, UA wins. आपने वो predict तो किया था आपके previous stream में. I know we showed the video, but yeah. So I think, guys, yeah, that's it, guys. Please आप support कर सकते हो. मैंने बोला था we are working to fix that issue with YouTube, which YouTube surprisingly dropped a bomb on us, right, Ajay bhai? We are working to fix that. And guys, तब तक आप लोग यही कर सकते हो. Like the stream, share it, spread the word with sports community that Italian football के content creators है. Let's grow the community together. The number has gone up to 939,000. पहुंचा दो भाई, guys. ये हमारा next goal है. And keep, just subscribe to the channel and yeah, keep supporting us if you like our content. Yeah, nothing more to say. Ciao.
मेरे चैनल को भी सब्सक्राइब करो भाई.
हाँ, AM Talk Sport again at AM Talk Sport. अजय भाई का यूजर नेम आप देख सकते हो, उधर भी चले जाओ. अजय भाई आप close to 800 हो, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, 768.
हाँ, so 800 पहुंचा दो यार अजय भाई को. He is also dropping sports content. So please support him as well. Again, both our channels work hand in hand. And yeah, just keep supporting us. And one more thing, कल Sven-Göran Eriksson का tribute video आने वाला है, which we recorded. आज I remembered, I'll put timestamps on it. But yes, कल it's going to premiere at 9 PM. Okay, so obviously live format में होगा. So do join in. We recorded it with the Lazio fan who had come on our stream the other day. So please देख लेना वो Sven-Göran Eriksson को, a respected figure in football. It's our sort of tribute to him. So please do watch it. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. I think this last 2 comments, Pool will win. UA wins by 1 goal. Fair enough. Guys, is Fonseca overrated? Let's discuss this next streams of Dream. अभी बंद कर रहे हैं. हाँ, Thursday को स्क्रीनशॉट ले लेता है. मैंने स्क्रीनशॉट ले लिया, ठीक है. So ये Thursday को डिस्कस कर लेंगे अपन. वैसे भी इंटरनेशनल ब्रेक है, ठीक है. So thank you, guys. Ciao. We'll see you soon. Bonus era. Yeah. See you soon, guys. Enjoy your football weekend. Enjoy your weekend, whatever.